Liked by the sound of violence.
For the first time in my life, I really have no idea how to cover this sport, to be perfectly honest with you. And then did you see this whole shit about how it wasn't just fighters who signed a non-disparagement clause. It was media. Did y'all see that shit? Media signed a clause, the terms of which we need greater clarification on. Are you fucking shitting me that media signed a non-disparagement clause? I mean, wow. Okay. You know, I don't even, what am I even supposed to say about this shit anymore? You know?
Are you excited about it all?
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast you should catch, skip, and can't miss each week. So as we try and talk about a new show and ask what the fuck is journalism in this weird trash sport. I am Pulver, and I'm back yet again with my co-host with a degree in journalism from San Diego State, Chris Madaffer. How's it going, bud?
Yeah, it's going, but after listening to if you heard that intro, that specific podcast, I wouldn't, and I've said this before, I think just a week or two ago, I don't have any plans to cover MMA as a journalist in the future, but if I did, I
this weekend
definitely
would have cured you of it?
If I do at this point decide to go forward with it, I'm not signing any fucking... not signing a fucking waiver. That's some bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, you mean you would actually, like, I don't know, do journalism?
Yeah. What's that called? Just reporting the news. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
Oh my
God. It's like, how is it even think? What is everyone afraid they're gonna fucking cry and like wet their pants like Ariel did because he got banned from like coverage?
To be fair, it's the same fucking site doing this that was the same site Ariel worked at. Okay, anyway, we're gonna get into it. But oh boy, is it gonna be a heck of an episode. To start off though, Chris, why don't we start off with our regular segment, which is the Papa Vodka presents Doug Stanhope presents, our super real, totally not fake sponsors.
I'm glad you got that right
AKA,
this time.
Yeah, for once, right?
Okay.
AKA, what the fuck you drinking this week?
I am drinking, and I actually don't believe I've had this beer before, at least not this version of it. This is actually, I think, comes out during Christmas time.
Oh,
I think.
That means it's probably not the freshest.
At least from what I recall. It's Sierra Nevada's Celebration Fresh Hop.
Oh, yeah, no, that's absolutely a fall beer. Like a late fall beer. Interesting.
Yeah, so
how does it hold up? Because it can't be hoppy at this point.
I mean...
Well, to be fair, that thing's so sweet, though.
It's still got some good citrus flavor. And like, yeah, it's not as hoppy.
Yeah.
Like, not on the palate. It's still a solid IPA, though.
Plus, I believe a lot of Sierra Nevada beers are what I believe Jason Harris from the Four Brewers podcast refers to as warehouse aged, where they don't ship stuff anywhere near when it's actually made. So a lot of their stuff too. Like, it doesn't start out the freshest.
I was thinking about that when I bought it at the liquor store too. I'm like, don't think I've ever had this. I'm like, but this is also a Christmas beer. I'm like, just fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
Sierra Nevada's it's got to be good. It's Sierra Nevada, and yeah, it's solid.
Yeah. No, I mean,
still holds up. Like what, 6-7 months later?
That's
8. No, 9 months later. I don't know how many months later.
Not quite that many, but yeah, something like that. I really like that beer when it's fresh, so that doesn't necessarily surprise me. However, I am drinking an extremely fresh beer this week. Out of the shouts out to the Stone Brewing Tiki mug that I picked up. Girlfriend Karen actually got it for me for my birthday, which was over the last week.
So can I guess which beer? Not to cut you off because you said Stone. Is it Revengeful Spirit Imperial IPA?
It's not, and it's actually a trick question, Chris, because I got a crowler of this at Stone. It's not a Stone beer.
So is it someone they distribute? Because I know they're still kind of like.
It's not even something they distribute. Here, I'll give you one hint. If you were to pick an IPA to be the IPA of all IPAs made in California to be the most sought after IPA, what would the most sought after IPA in all of California have been throughout, I don't know, the last at least decade?
I mean, the only name that comes to my mind is probably Pliny the Younger because it's difficult to find.
Okay,
but...
so you were almost there because this is I got Pliny the Elder in a crowler for I think it was like $10 for a 32-ounce crowler.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was gonna think of saying Elder, but Younger, I remember I heard is even more rare. That's why
Younger is even harder to find. Which if they had Younger, I would have gotten that. But I've got a crowler of Pliny the Elder, and it's delicious like always. So.
It's funny. I think it's a great beer. I understand if someone says it's overrated or they're better beers because it's all subjective.
Well, and it's
regardless,
it's very old school West Coast IPA.
Because I remember the one that I like compared to the Elder is Two Hearted Ale from
Bell's Brewing. Yeah,
it's very similar. Really good.
Yeah, it's like that old school West Coast kind of hoppiness where it's like it's a nice, crisp, clean finish, but it's nowhere near tropical or citrusy like the Citra bombs from nowadays.
Or Mosaic, yeah.
Exactly. Citra and Mosaic are dominating everything when it comes to West Coast IPAs right now, especially Southern California. So, yeah, man, I'm stoked about that. I also got they had Tardistry back on tap when we were there, which is their sour. I think it's technically a Berliner Weiss made with peanut butter and I think it's either strawberry or raspberry, which is super bomb. I picked up Fool's Gold actually as well, which is their it's a Berliner Weiss made with red currant, really good. So
okay,
yeah, been enjoying it. Oh, I picked up their mixed tiki pack as well, which is pretty cool. I've been enjoying those quite a bit. The Tiki Escape is actually really good. The hop blend on that is really weird because I forget what they use. It's a newer hop that has like coconut notes. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
For sure. Well, anyway, I guess we should get to all the fucking chaos that's been happening since we're not a booze podcast, despite me trying every goddamn week. So, Chris, why don't we start off? Oh, man, it's been a big week for MMA podcasts. Should I get to the news first? You know what? We'll get to the news when we get to the skips, I have a feeling. I will say off the top, one piece of news that I did see is that the podcast MMA by the Numbers made a return this week, which is really cool. That was the stats-driven podcast that's essentially it all focuses on breaking down cards through looking at stats. And I really enjoyed it. They've been off for, at least 6 months, if not more. So it was really cool to see he made a return this week. And I wanted to give that a plug since, that's a good show. So, cool, man. Well, why don't we go ahead and, Chris, why don't you start us off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week?
So I have multiple catches. Let's see.
I got a couple as well.
Some of these being pre-fight day. So
right.
I listen to these on Thursday, Friday. I'll mention quickly, Fights Gone By, episode 205 with your boy Jack Slack was a good one. I like how he compared Kevin Iole to being a beanbag chair with glasses.
Dude, he is one of the few people who goes in so hard on Iole, and it's funny every goddamn time.
Yeah, he basically says he'll print whatever you ask him to.
As proven this week.
What was the one? He fucking said something that was not even true at all. It was like a rumor. God damn it.
I think it's all the Dana stuff this week.
I can't remember.
The testing stuff. Like, he's basically just been Dana's mouthpiece all week, and it's real weird.
Yeah.
I mean, even more so than Okamoto, who's making songs about Fight Island.
And in hindsight, he was talking about, is Cejudo even really fighting the best possible competition right now? That whole thing. discussion about Jose Aldo. He mostly talked about, from what I remember, Cruz and Cejudo, and because Jack's always been a massive fan of the smaller divisions, like the 135, the bantamweights.
Well, it's good, dude. The bantamweights bantamweight through welterweight is just straight bangers every single fight.
Yeah. I can't disagree there. And then I guess the one I had multiple catches.
Here, I can jump in on one if you want.
Yeah, go for it. Or did you listen to just by coincidence? Did you listen to Protect Your Neck?
You know which one? The preview for 249?
I believe so. Yeah, because was that the one with Mike Dolce? Because that's the one he was in there. He had a good breakdown.
I literally only caught the first couple minutes of it. I actually dropped off right around I heard Mike Dolce in an interview, and I was like, I'm probably good on this. Was it good?
It was solid. Dolce had some pretty good breakdowns.
Really?
As far as his fight mentality, discipline, and his relationship with Dominic Cruz and knowing him. Dan kind of went on analyzing Tony Ferguson's game plan, kind of his tendencies. They kind of break down just the main and co-main mostly, because they said that's what kind of intrigued him the most as far as just technical stuff. I remember Dan said he had Cruz by decision, and it was a solid one. I know Dolce still kind of has a lot of emphatic vocabulary and talk shit like, going out there unequivocally like the last samurai, kind of shit like that. Dude, just kind of pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, Dolce definitely he works in an industry full of hyperbole and like absolute statements that rarely have to be fact checked. But yeah, I like Dolce in pieces, so that's interesting. I think that was episode 189, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and check that. You know what? Shit, I actually meant to get to that, which I may have to listen to later in the week. Is Dan Tom also had Ed Gallo on to talk about the top 5 wrestlers in MMA, I believe, and that was supposed to be really good. I think it was episode 188, so I'm gonna have to check that one out as well. But that's solid, man.
Sorry, you said you wanted to chime in on another thing you listened to.
I've got a catch for let's see. I guess the first one I'll go with is Heavy Hands, episode 315, which you guys will hear on the break. I really enjoyed this because I feel like this was I think maybe they struck the best balance between being critical of the card while still trying to discuss the fights and kind of be excited about the card, or at least be excited about the fights happening on the card. And I thought they struck like a real honest balance between the two, which I really appreciated. As you guys know, we did not do a preview, which is the first time we haven't done a preview for UFC card, in a couple of years probably. I think we always at least put picks out. But yeah, you and I tweeted back and forth, which I actually screen capped and sent out a tweet a little bit of, which was fucking both of us were like, I'm good on doing any kind of promotion ahead of this thing, and we'll talk about it after. As soon as you tweeted me about the Jacare news, which is fucking wild as shit.
Yeah, honestly, I'm actually surprised the fight went on yesterday.
I think I'm not, but only because Florida.
I'm not because of Florida, but I am because of Disney.
I don't think Disney gives a fuck about the UFC, dude.
Yeah, maybe not.
And ESPN needs content so fucking bad. Like, Disney is going to start...
Yeah, because of the deal that they have, right?
Well, and Disney's going to start owing people money if they don't have sports soon. Because you can't sell ESPN packages when you have no sports. Like, what the fuck are all these cable distribution companies paying for if you have no sports on?
I was on ESPN Plus today while at work, and they've been adding some interesting things to the vault. That's what they call it, like just flashbacks and fights. I didn't even realize they had a bunch of Floyd Mayweather fights, and I was watching when he fought Jesus Chavez back in like 2001. That was interesting. It was kind of fun going back and watching like fucking Mayweather when he's like 24. Watching some old school boxing, which is now considered
back when he was fun.
Yeah, oh no, he was like all offense too. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, back when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, when he was like just lighting dudes up and before he got all safe.
Yeah, dude, he won. He TK'd the guy threw in the corner. The corner threw in the towel. Threw in the corner. Jesus, that'd be heavy. The corner threw in the towel in like the 10th
Heavy
round, and the guy basically Floyd won every single fucking round, just like wouldn't even close.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like you just don't.
Floyd fights, right? But anyway, back to Heavy Hands, episode 315. Yeah, it was a really good one. It was a really good preview. Their previews are always solid. And you guys will hear Connor had a really good, he had some good jokes about, wonder where this card's taking place and why it's taking place there. But they also brought up some interesting points. They talked about whether Tony or not was going to be able to pick shots around Gaethje's high guard, which we saw a lot of. We'll talk about this in a bit as well. Like, man, Gaethje did
I'll say this. How about that leg sweep?
Dude, that leg sweep from Tony Ferguson like he's playing in fucking Mortal Kombat and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's real legit. Let's see. They also talked about Henry just having which I thought was really interesting. They talked about Henry having the McGregor mindset, which honestly kind of proved to be true once again yesterday, in that Henry keeps saying he's defending belts, and technically he is defending belts, but the defenses are like the weirdest asterisk-driven defenses of all time.
Who's Piotr Jan? Who's Corey Sandhagen? I've never heard of these guys.
Yeah.
Sterling? Who's that?
Well, I think he did at least say, like, Aljamain Sterling, at least, like, people know.
Well, we'll get into it later, but I think he really took this fight and the Aldo fight more on legacy, which I totally understand.
His whole career has just been legacy fights.
We'll get into it more. All I'll say is he's definitely still very well in his prime, and he's still probably the best bantamweight.
Yeah.
It's
mostly negotiations, I would assume.
Yeah, it's subjective. We'll get into what we saw in that fight and what I think could have happened or could have continued in that fight. That his fight with Cruz definitely, I don't want to say it sparked controversy, but
people got some feelings about it for sure.
Yeah, so
and I'm still kind of I go back and forth on it.
Yeah, and we can get into that later. It's up to you.
Yeah, we'll get into that in the recap that we do in a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, overall, I just really enjoyed Heavy Hands. I thought it was a good one, and I just appreciated the kind of the balance they struck between, because that was something I was struggling with throughout the week. Is like in doing a preview show, which we were planning on doing, I didn't know how to. I was going back and forth on how much I just would have had to have clarified everything with this is horrible, and probably really, really not good that it's happening balance, but between also just being excited about the fights, which were fucking incredible. Like, spoiler alert for later, but Jesus Christ, that card was incredible.
Yeah, I think there's really just one fight, and I'm not going to necessarily name it right now, but that wasn't that interesting. But
there was, 1.5. There was a certain wrestler who may weigh less than 125 pounds, that fight had some moments of nothing as well.
Oh, no, that's the one I'm mainly talking about.
Oh, I was talking... Oh, right, because we don't talk about the other person.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, overall, I really liked Heavy Hands, episode 315, and it's just a good example why that show is good. It's honestly... There's a reason why it always wins everything we ever do. When it comes to award show stuff. I really fucking love Heavy Hands. And it's a good example of it. Do you have any other MMA podcasts to catch this week?
Yeah. Let's see.
I know you had,
actually, that's it for now, because the rest of the stuff I have here is like post 249.
Okay. Cool. Well, I mean, you can throw out a post one if it's a catch. You don't have to.
I'd probably say Luke Thomas's live chat, the one that we introed in with. If you want.
I think so.
I don't have too many notes, but
yeah, I mean, a lot of it. One thing that does make me, I won't say that I dislike. Well, I will say one thing I dislike about the way Luke Thomas's live chat has gone over the last 2 or 3 weeks is he's completely taken his foot off the pedal when it comes to giving any kind of controversial takes, because I think it was hurting his views, or it was just ruined. He was getting so much. I think what it was is he's getting so much blowback from fighters and camps that he literally changed his tune. And I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that he still works at Sirius, and how much those ties play, or Showtime as well, because he's really taking his foot off the gas where he was going hard at people, and now you hear him start to say, oh, well, I would talk about safety and procedures and stuff, but nobody cares about me talking about that, and I just get all of the donks lighting themselves on fire in my comments. So that is my one caveat. However, really good post-fight chat, or I think he technically calls it a post-fight special, is what he refers to him as, the 249 recap. And yeah, I don't know which notes you had on it specifically, apart from the overall recap, which it was really solid.
I was going to say, it was mostly a recap, and we could get into that in our recap, because I guess we'd be kind of spoiling what we're going to discuss.
Right,
Not that that's a
we'll touch
big
on
deal.
some of it.
But yeah, I'll just mention it then as a catch, because I don't want to just kind of go ahead and start recapping now.
Well, overall, he brought out some interesting points about a couple different people. He also brought up a bit about some of the weirdness around, which we'll also get to it in our recap, but the wearing masks, not wearing masks, wearing masks on your neck, wearing masks under your nose.
Yeah.
Like John Anik, Joe Rogan, and DC standing next to each other for the intro of the pay-per-view, but then sitting on separate sides of the cage.
I noticed that. That was interesting.
Dumbest shit ever. It's all the dumbest shit ever.
I feel like Rogan should have been wearing a mask when interviewing in the Octagon.
I feel like Rogan shouldn't have shaken the hands of every single fucking person he saw. Yeah. Rogan's like, well, everybody tested negative, bro. Like, yeah, except for Jacare, who also fucking was like hugging Verdum in Instagram videos and shit. And also multiple fighters.
And Rosa was right next to him, Charles Rosa.
Yeah, and multiple fighters had said throughout the week to Luke Thomas, evidently, that they interacted with Jacare, and that was not even around weigh-in time. And then Rogan and Dana White literally touched everybody after touching everybody. It's I'm interested to see how tests go next week, if there are tests, because we'll see. I think it'll be interesting. But yeah, anyway. Luke Thomas, he brought up some interesting points that I think will play out over time. Also, he does really good technique breakdowns, on the fly. There's a lot of the people who will do technique breakdowns, guys like The Fight Site and Connor and Phil over at Heavy Hands or the Vivisection, those types of dudes. Even 6 Round Retro. Well, 6 Round Retro a little bit less so, or not retro, but 6 Round post-fight show. A little bit less so since it's immediately after, but Luke is really good at picking up in real time or within a rewatch or two just very specific moments in fights that a lot of people don't catch until a couple watches through. Specifically with guys like Holloway and Adesanya, who he studied a lot. But I thought he had some really interesting reads on both Dom Cruz and on Gaethje Ferguson that I thought was pretty interesting. So yeah, he's one of those guys that I think is underrated for the technique side of things, especially for himself not being as much of a technique kind of reporter, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I agree.
Analyst, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. So some other catches I had. Co-main event episode 400. I don't know if you caught this one, but
I didn't. Unfortunately for me, I like to catch co-main event, but I feel like it's every other week.
Yeah, and this one was really good. It's their 8-year anniversary, which is fucking crazy. And they did some fun stuff in this one. There was a trivia challenge where Chad Dundas just asked weird fucking trivia questions about things that happened, like who was the champ of whatever division back when they started the show and stuff like that, which was kind of crazy to hear. Also, Ben has an amazing bit where he definitely legitimately got the old Russian choir that used to do Fedor's music to do a custom co-main event track that definitely isn't just the same track over and over again that Ben ripped off of one of the fights. It's definitely a custom track. It's just a fun episode, and they make a lot of good jokes. They also talk quite a bit about the, I'm going to go ahead and use air quotes, safety procedures around UFC 249 and how dumb it is that the UFC isn't telling people that they are testing. Because why would you not be telling people that you're testing if you are testing? That seems like it's the opposite of good PR. I don't understand. So I thought that was good. Also, I liked the segment about the Mike Perry Flip Your Girl challenge. So shouts out to that. But yeah, just a fun episode overall. And then Chris, I had one other catch, which is The Menace and the Man, episode 75. Did you listen to this?
No, that's another one I think I've only listened to once, and I just don't.
This was a crazy episode.
It just needs to be on my radar.
It was a crazy episode. Dana White calls in. He talks about Fight Island, which, by the way, Fight Island is confirmed that it's rented. They didn't buy it. Brian Campbell, I believe, got that scoop where it's technically rented.
He's probably not going to reveal the location for a while, right?
I don't.
Because if I were to guess,
if it ever happens,
right? I still don't think it will, because is there a hospital on this island? Anyways, I would guess it's in Southeast Asia between Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, because I think I looked it up, and I think there's like 7,000 like uncharted islands or like unknown in that vicinity.
I've heard that's a rumor. I've heard some Southeast Asian island is a rumor. I've heard who was it? It's not Will Smith. There's some Endeavor client that has an island that Dana White was sitting next to at a Lakers game.
Oh, so you know what? And this would have made sense years ago. I remember Nicolas Cage bought an island before he went bankrupt, which led into bankruptcy.
We got to figure in any Endeavor client.
Yeah.
Also, I heard there's a guy named Jeffrey Epstein that has a free island for someone to take.
Yeah, that totally not evil piece of shit, right? Yeah.
No, it's real good. Also, I think it's probably just somewhere like a rock off of the coast of like Ireland or England, because if you notice, he references all the time that it's going to be mostly for European fighters. He always says European. He says foreign fighters, but then he references Europe a lot.
Then maybe it's near Iceland or Greenland or some shit.
Wales or something like that.
Wales, I could see that. Yeah, Ireland.
Like somewhere weird like that where like they have like small, like where like it's a boat ride to anywhere kind of thing. Like I wonder if it's something like that.
That's a good point. I could see that. Or somewhere like in the Canary Islands near Spain.
Sure. Yeah, something like that. I honestly think none of it will ever happen. But
neither do I.
I think if it does, it'll go down probably similar to be fair, we should make Florida an island in their defense. So, fucking Jesus Christ.
Florida's pretty much a peninsula, which is close.
No, I just want that fucking the goddamn what was it? The Merry Melodies Looney Tunes GIF of cutting Florida off the U.S. Anyway. So in Menace and the Man, episode 75, they talk a lot about Fight Island. Dana ironically talks a lot about how he sorry, I mixed up two different notes. Dana talks a lot about quarantining at his house with his kids, which is weird when you number one, you're not quarantining if you're constantly going to the UFC offices and clearly not social distancing.
How many kids does Dana have?
3.
I know he has like. Okay, so now he has that one son of his who's like a boxer, I think,
yeah,
and he
the one that's like 17 or 18. He talks actually a lot about him in this episode, since I think he's going to UCLA to play football, something like that. No, USC. Nice. No, maybe I don't remember where he's going. They talk about it in this episode. I kind of glaze over when I hear football stuff. Stan, Dennis's co-host, Stan the Man, ironically stands for Dana during this. He literally says the quote, I don't get, or he said he talks a lot about how like I don't get why media are always out here trying to find salacious shit. Like they should literally just be doing puff pieces all the time.
No, because
he literally says, he literally says they should be doing puff pieces.
No,
and then Dana triples down on the media being the weakest people on the planet. But why this? And that was all awful and annoying. But why this was a catch for me is because Jillian Robertson calls in from ATT, who you guys would know as the redhead from ATT, who is super good at catching rear naked jokes. student of Dean Thomas. And she calls in and explains weed to Dennis Bermudez, which is hilarious. She explains how smoking weed works to Dennis since she never smoked weed. And she is high as shit and giggling the whole time. And then great. Justin Gaethje joins, which, if you guys remember, Justin Gaethje was actually the coach for Jillian's season of Tough. So then Gaethje joins, and he talks about weed. And he's like, I believe they asked him, like, oh, Justin, you use CBD and stuff? He's like, I use CBD. Yeah, I also be dabbing and shit like that. So he talks about like doing dabbing oil and all that shit.
I mean, yeah, he is in Colorado.
I was just about to say, yeah, in Colorado, not far outside of Denver, which is the home of wax, essentially. So, yeah, really good, and he's hilarious. This is actually where the quote that you've probably seen going around, where he says he hopes Tony breaks his nose because he wants to get it fixed. Yep. That came from this, and then they joke about how Dennis and Gaethje both love low kicking their friends and betting their friends low kicks, just because like they're non-fighter friends who they're like, I'll low kick you if you let me I'll buy you a beer if you let me low kick you.
Just watching the embedded, so Gaethje kept like punching not like full on punching, but jabbing his friends in the stomach.
Yeah,
like out of randomness.
Yeah, Gaethje seems like a lot of the dudes we grew up with who plays a little too rough, but is also real funny about it. Let's see. Oh, also, so I knew Gaethje was gonna be game during this shit because he actually mentions during this interview, he's like, "This is about to be some like fucking Fight Club Kumite type shit with all the silence, and I'm here for it." Like he was very excited about it, and I was like, "Okay, well, Gaethje is clearly fucking hyped up." But yeah, it was cool hearing that overall. And then Charles Rosa joins at the end, talking about how he does a cooking show on YouTube nowadays, and how his camp at ATT wasn't too bad since Florida. Essentially, his gyms have been open the whole time. So it was interesting for sure, and it was a pretty good episode. The Dana White shit was rough, but when is it not, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Do you have any more catches, or should we get to our skips for this week, Chris?
Let's get to the skips.
Okay.
Most other stuff I'm just honestly going to mention during our recap.
Yeah, and you know what? This is where I give the Eugene S. Robinson style disclaimer. Just because we are saying it's a skip doesn't mean we personally hate you or even that we hate your show. This week it means that you're a fucking dirty liar who doesn't know how to be a journalist and it could be argued you defraud the public by signing a non-disclosure agreement and working as a journalist at a fucking fight show. And we had 2 of them this week on my skip. But first, Chris, do you have any skips before we get to mine?
I do. It's more of a half skip. I like this fighter a lot. I follow him on social media. I don't have anything against him.
Oh, Brendan Schaub?
No, not him. Not Brandon Schwab. This guy is he's pretty much a rising star already at bantamweight. It's called the Timbo Sugar Show with Sean O'Malley and Tim Welch.
That's right. I always forget they actually have like a podcast now.
This is episode 82. I wanted to like this episode, and I know it's not even me being PC or anything. It's just a little too homophobic.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
I'm not calling him homophobic.
Wait, what kind of homophobic?
He was just lots of gay jokes and him saying that's gay and shit like that. I'm like, dude, you're talking like you're in high school, bro. Like, come on. Like, yeah, I don't know if it's because he's so high, but I like Sean O'Malley, you know, and I don't think he's a homophobe. I don't know the guy personally. I doubt he cares, but it's just you can't be saying.
Was it at least like self-referential?
Or like he was just saying like stuff about someone else. Like, yeah, he dresses pretty gay.
Oh, that's not
making gay jokes. Like,
was it? I'm trying to think of ways in which that can be funny, and there are ways, but
it just wasn't. To me, it just sounded like some kid you went to high school with. That's gay, dude. He dresses pretty gay. Like, I was just like, what? So maybe it's a little unfair. I didn't listen to the entire podcast.
The fact they're in Arizona doesn't make me feel better about it either. Considering,
and a lot of it was just the first 20 minutes was just about weed and shit. And
okay, Fortnite. I'm back on board.
Like, I don't mind weed. Do I care about Fortnite? No. Call of Duty, sure, I'll play Call of Duty. I don't know. And then he was talking about that piece of shit rapper 6ix9ine. Definitely don't like that kid.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. I saw a girl that we are friends with.
I don't,
that,
dude. I honestly
that has
like,
recently
dude,
taken to twerking on Instagram a whole bunch. I saw her do a full 180 on Tekashi 6ix9ine in about an hour, and it's I don't want to say her name on the podcast, but let's say she's blonde. She lives in Claremont. We used to party with her at Ryan Roloff's house.
I know exactly who this is.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
a good idea who this is. Yeah.
I don't want to say any more than that.
I'm not gonna say it.
She's very nice. I like her a lot. She's a sweetheart.
No,
but
she's
I saw her
always
do
been cool to me.
Yeah, she's great. But I saw her do a full 180 on Tekashi 6ix9ine in about an hour.
Anyways,
and it's great.
But yeah, I'm very critical of hip hop, and I'm a very much a hipster when it comes to my hip hop taste. And yeah, that 6ix9ine guy, not good at all.
Well,
it's pretty fucking terrible.
No, he's bad. I mean,
It's
mumble rap
a lot of
rules the
yelling,
world, y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yelling, and I'm like, well, he's not black, so why is he throwing that word around?
Well,
good for him.
Yeah, we're gonna go down a whole different line of.
I know. I'm being super white. I don't have any fucking opinion on it. Of course I don't. I'm just being stupid. But no, I
wait
don't
for the
give a
second
fuck about
segment
that
where
bull.
Chris gives all his hot takes on why Logic shouldn't be allowed to use the N word.
I mean, I won't fucking speak for him. That's his own thing.
Just
So,
fucking around.
but I know there are people. They look at him. They're like,
Yeah, shouts to No Life Shack. Actually, that's tough.
I like that. Yeah, I like that guy's channel. That guy's
Dude,
funny.
he's hilarious. Actually, you know what? Big shouts to that guy because Mumble Mondays, his new thing that he's been doing, is maybe my favorite thing on the planet right now.
I always like
Oh
when he does the metalhead Shack.
Yeah. He's
Like, I
super.
remember when
That dude's great.
I think my favorite one is he's like, I'm gonna watch Pantera Domination live. I'm like, this dude has no idea what he's in for right now.
Yeah. Or like when you see him listen to Queen for the first time and you see him fall in love with Freddie Mercury, you're like, this dude, that's tough.
Yeah.
Fucking great. Oh man. And I guess that's one of our well-rounded recommendations for this week is No Life Shack on YouTube. It's your boy. It's your
he's
homie.
good. And
it's
another really good channel for music reactions reviews is Lost in Vegas. Really solid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, they've been on a big grunge kick. They're doing a lot of Alice in Chains. So if you're a big Alice in Chains fan, I think they've been doing that for the past week.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we got to some stuff we like, here's some stuff we don't like. Like some fuck. I'm not gonna make that joke. Shouts out to Chief Keef. I almost. Oh man, that would have been a bad callback joke right before I dunk on a whole bunch of MMA media. So here's some news for this week, and it's my skip for this week. Your media card has been revoked to John Morgan, Oscar Willis, Jose Youngs, The Schmo, Helen Yee, and Adam Hill. All of those people, as far as we know, and none of them have come out to say otherwise, which they should have done by now, evidently every single one of them signed a non-disparagement contract? Is that what it was, Chris?
Yeah, aka non-disparagement is essentially
it means shut your mouth.
Even though according to the ethics of just base journalism,
you don't sign contracts
you
with
could
the company
sign
you
it.
cover?
You could sign it. You're just going to lose a lot of integrity because now you're saying, well, I'm not going to report on what's news.
Well, you're inherently compromised.
Yeah, so basically, if I was there, doesn't remember who I'm representing. This is the certain media. I'm there, right? Say I got my boss, right? Say I work for MMA Fighting because I know you mentioned Jose Young. So they go, hey, Chris, so you're there and you have to sign this disparagement agreement. You know, you can't really tell people what's going on with the whole how they're testing for, COVID-19, whether people are asymptomatic, that kind of thing, or the testing procedures. You cannot do this. And I'd be like, well, I didn't learn that. I needed to, report on this, right? And basically at that point, when you sign that waiver, you're just basically fucking putting your hand under Dana's balls at that point.
I mean, yeah, honestly, It really... Well,
you're
no,
basically
even worse
taking
than
off
that,
your fucking
you're putting...
press badge and
Yeah.
just putting it on the table and just walking the fuck out of the room. Like,
And,
what
well,
are you doing?
And even worse than you putting your hands on Dana's balls.
Yeah, that's a little extreme. I
No,
didn't have to say
really
that,
what you're
but,
doing,
you know,
though,
it's
the
just
better
like-
analogy is you're giving him a set of hedge clippers and putting them to your balls and giving Dana
Yeah.
the handle.
Yeah,
Because you're
you
like,
mean-
well, hey, you get to choose what I cover now. So really, I guess I'm just doing PR.
You're basically his mouthpiece now. It's like, well, you just signed this waiver, so basically whatever the fuck I say, you should have to report.
Well, and you no longer you're no longer a journalist. You're not even
It's
really
really
reporting.
embarrassing, and it's a bad look.
It's-
And I'm really sad
no
to
other
learn
sport.
that you mentioned John Morgan of those people.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
And like, okay, so Chris, I have a couple questions for you as to like, just because I haven't taken journalism classes and you've taken a whole bunch of them, so I'm just kind of curious on a couple different steps in the process, right? Like, you get to fight week and they hand you that piece of paper. What are your options as a journalist? Because like, can you go public and say, hey, they asked me to sign this?
You can. Well, okay. I have to review that because I don't. Because the
And it
UFC
also
is a
depends on-
private. The UFC is a private entity, and technically,
Right.
if you're a private entity, you
Well, and
have your
technically
own
they-
stipulations and
And
procedures.
technically, they invited the people there in the first place. It
Yeah,
wasn't
so
open
that
to all
I'm glad
press.
you mentioned that. So if they invited me and they told me you can't cover us unless you sign this, as a journalist, I could say I'm not going to sign this because I want to report on what's going down. I still believe, though, even if I choose to decide, I could report on what their procedures are because I was there. I believe if that's public. I believe I can do that, but see, I'd have to still, and it's been a while since I've reviewed any of those practices. I would have to look into that. That's actually a good one, and that's a little tricky. And it might be why some of them signed it.
Well, and so here I have some follow-up questions. So, like, even if you didn't sign it, there are ways to say, hey, I got here. Like, say you turned it down and you fly back home, right? Or say you're in Florida at the hotel for a week or whatever, and then you go home and you don't cover the event or however it happens. You would be able to go public and say, hey, I was asked to sign documents I was not comfortable with, and therefore
pretty sure
I'm
you
not
could
going
still
to be
do that.
covering this event.
Yeah.
Because-
I'm also 1,000% sure I could say that, hey, this is what happened. I was here to cover an event. However, they wanted me to sign something that I wasn't comfortable with it, or that I feel went against
Compromises
my actual
journalistic
job.
integrity, yeah.
So here's what they were doing. They're asking me to sign this. I still think, though, you can cover the procedures, what you saw there, because you were covering there. You were representing as your job.
Or
You
at
can still
least
cover based on how many days you were there.
right,
So
or at least you could cover your experience on, like, did you take a flight there, or did you...
Yeah.
What happened? Did they hand you the paper right when you walked to the hotel? Did they hand it to you after you got a swab? Any of that kind of stuff you should be able to talk about.
And I think
Because anything up until they ask you to sign something, technically, you should be able to
so
report
if
on.
I think that's what it comes down to. It's all just time of reference. So if I already saw, say, their corona testing procedures before they asked me to sign a waiver, I could report on all that.
Right,
Because that was prior to the fact of them asking me to sign this fucking thing.
Right.
So I could still report on, here's how they were testing everything. Even if Dana or whoever gets mad, they're like, okay, he'll never be allowed to cover an event again. I'm like, okay, that's
fine.
his
That's the
decision.
game. Yeah.
That's his decision. That means I'm never covering UFC again. And guess what? All I did is I did my job, and that's all you can do. You just
Right.
hold your head up high or something. You know what? There's other MMA promotions I could cover if I want to see an MMA game.
Right.
Sure, the UFC's, the upper echelon as far as, how they're promoted because of ESPN. But, there's other it really just depends how you want to take it. And I understand why some of those journalists or different media members decided to sign it. They feel comfortable covering the UFC, and they want to continue to do that.
It's
I
money.
totally
They
get
signed
it.
it for money.
Yeah.
There's
And
no
that's-
other reason to do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's,
so
it's really sad. So
yeah, it's sad. Here's
it's disappointing more than anything. I can't be mad at it. It's just disappointing.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not mad. It's just like it means I can never take any of your word at face value ever again as a journalist because you're compromised now. Honestly, right? Like you can try and earn that back, and sometimes sometimes people do earn public trust back. I mean, Ariel, some people would argue has earned public trust back. Journalists in the past that have fucked up have earned public trust back, but that's a fucking next to impossible thing to do, right?
I'm actually looking up Luke Thomas's Twitter right now because I didn't even see the full scope of kind of what he was
Trent Reinsmith. I know Mark Raimondi was the one that originally reported on it, but I don't think it was through a tweet though. I think it was
because he's at ESPN,
which is
Mark
also
Raimondi.
interesting because if you think about it, ESPN did not have any reporters on the ground that I know of outside of
not even Okamoto.
Well, that's a good question. Was Okamoto at Fight Week?
Actually, I don't even think he was. I think he did pre-fight week stuff.
So here's a second question that's going to get me to my Eugene S. Robinson style conspiracy. Did ESPN intentionally not send the reporters because it would have proven them compromised?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Because if you're ESPN and you know that document is going out, you know you can't send your reporters, right?
Yeah, there's no way.
ESPN's too smart an outlet to let that shit fly. Like, they know that, because if you sign that doc, you know that's going to come out eventually, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Dana White would make it his effort to, like, okay, this motherfucker, or this guy didn't sign it, is what he would let it be known.
Well, but my argument, though, is that, like, any doc like that as a journalist you sign, you have to trust that every single journalist who signs it and every single PR person who saw it sent out will never tell anybody, or else you're fucked for your entire career. Right? Like, it's kind of like signing a death sentence to your career. A little bit. And I know I'm being, like, overly dramatic about this because I am, like, a very white and black kind of person when it comes to a lot of these issues, which is obviously not how it actually works in the long run. Especially when so many of these people are so, like, systematically compromised in the way they cover the sport. To see it so black and, like, laid out so clearly, and to see them put initials on a fucking piece of... And to be fair, we don't have confirmation that every single person signed it. I can't imagine they were allowed to cover the event if they didn't. Like, I can't imagine that's the case. And it's even weirder that none of them have come out afterwards. So that's my other question for you, Chris, is... Say that you are a journalist who signed that. Say that all this comes out. What's your next move? Because you're there for the next week covering the next two events. Do you say something? Do you address it?
Oh, like address me admitting that I signed it, or do I
address the story? Because it's a story everywhere, and by being silent, you're complicit, right? I mean, at least in public's perception.
Hold on a second. I think I need to turn some volume down here. Sorry.
It's all good. Oh yeah, you're right. You do a little bit. No, but yeah,
I turned it way down.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's kind of my question though. Is like by being silent, the public is going to see you as complicit. The people who care, right? So like, do you address it? And if so, do you even have any recourse without honestly? And also, here's a question: what if someone breaks that? Like, what if someone breaks the agreement?
Then it's just the same thing as that you didn't sign it then. At that point, then it's like, all right, fuck you then.
Well, and they want to have legal recourse. That's a better question for, like, an Eric McGracken
that too,
or a
though,
Jason
too. There would
Cruz.
be legal recourse, I imagine.
I assume. But, like, also, that's how you gain your credibility back, right? Like, if you want real journalism, that's real-ass journalism, is if you sign it, you break the NDA, and you expose it, right? It's not the best way to handle it. It's not the way you would do it. Like if you had the way, like if you wrote the book on how to do it, but like it would definitely redeem a journalist if they were to do that, right? I guess these are just questions that I've been pondering in my own head all week because or the last 24 hours or 48 hours because
there's definitely a way to redemption for sure if you're someone who signed it, and there is or always is. You just have to be. It's whether it's through transparent, but yeah, like you mentioned, you're treading a line though, because then there might be legal recourse against you.
Well, and you forever tainted the well, right?
Yeah.
Or poisoned the well. Like no matter, there's always a question now on just like, well,
yeah, like I just saw something here, Bloody Elbow. It said a day ago, waiver allows UFC to revoke purses if fighters criticize protocols. Like, what?
Well, that's the other part of this is the fighter side is absolutely, arguably, a lot of people are saying maybe unconstitutional. It's fucking pretty crazy. Yeah, they say they can take entire fight and bonus purses away if you say anything negative, which is horrifying. So, Anyway, we'll move on. But my skip for this week, since I never actually named him, MMA Roadshow, episode 267. John Morgan and Oscar Willis talked on site in Jacksonville about a whole bunch of stuff like the testing and the safety procedures and the process of flying there, and they previewed the card. All that is now useless information because no one knows whether any of it is true or not, and it fucking bums me out, man. It bumps me out. Also, the A-Side live chat this entire week is compromised. Because Jose Youngs has been on site all week.
Yeah, you're going to have to actually, maybe off air, you're going to have to give me a list of those names again.
Oh, here, I got you right here because I want to make sure everybody knows them. And these are only the ones that I know of for sure.
Let me write it down. Hold on a second.
These are only the people I know of for sure because you can hear them and see them throughout the week. Because John Morgan tweeted out a picture of who was on the media bus, as well as you can hear, I think, every one of them, or at least for 5 of the 6 you can hear during the post-fight press conference. But John Morgan with MMA Junkie, Oscar Willis with the Mac Life, Jose Youngs with MMA Fighting, The Schmo with The Schmo, Helen Yee with, I don't know, Helen Yee, I think, and Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
So you said John Morgan, Oscar Willis, you said Jose Youngs.
Yep. The Schmo and Helen Yee.
So the Schmo, also known as Daniel Schmollenson, I think is his name.
Yes.
Schnellenson or some shit like that.
Here, I got it right here because I just tweeted it to Bixen Span.
I think it's Schmollenson.
Yeah, I believe it is. I'll say it if you keep going. And then Helen Yee, his girlfriend. Let me see. It is... Yeah, Dave Schmollenson.
Oh, Dave. Okay.
And then Adam Hill from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I would love to hear comments from any of those people. I have not. I have looked and I have not. Also, I am very excited to hear the MMA JA, Josh Gross, said they are going to put out a statement. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. And I'm very worried it's going to be a fucking PR statement written by whoever the fuck puts out all their statements, which is like, we're very concerned about the state of journalism, and we do not condone nor support signing any kind of agreements with people you're covering that would compromise your journalistic integrity, and we plan on looking into this in the future and making sure it doesn't happen. I'm expecting something along those lines, except written by someone who can write, because that's kind of all they do. But yeah, that's all I really got on that for my skips. It's sad, man, and it's disappointing, and I wish we had real journalists in this fucking sport, because we clearly don't.
Yeah, it's just a dime a dozen, I guess, at this point. Let's see. I think all I want to get into...
Well, I guess lastly we have our can't miss, right?
I would have mentioned a post-fight show, but this is MMA Fighting, so I'm not going to be discussing that.
Yeah. Although Mike Heck, to be fair, not at all involved. Mike Heck's great. And I would like to think Mike Heck is...
Should we get into our recap now, or I can't remember
I still have can't miss stuff.
That's right. Yeah,
actually, so you listen to as well, which is Writing and Fighting, which technically not a podcast. Technically, this is a panel for I believe she's with American University. Let me double check. Nancy Ann Kidder, who hosts the... Sorry, I am trying to get to her fucking Twitter. She's an adjunct professor at American University, and she hosts she's a professor for the class Writing and Fighting, and she had a panel with, oh my god, what a fucking lineup. So, it's in my notes right here. Yeah. Teacher of the Writing and Fighting class at American University in D.C. The panel for this gender media and combat sports topic was Julie Kedzie, Laura Sanko, Fernanda Praches, Melissa Segura, Anna Hisa, Evelyn Rodriguez, Tanisha Singleton, Phoenix Carnival, and Amy Kaplan, which I mean, short maybe like Esther Lynn. I think that's just about goddamn everybody. And also I've seen that she had Esther Lynn on a different one. And Chris, you listened to this as well, right? Like I tweeted out this week, and I stand by it. I think this was one of the most informative and just insightful panels I've maybe ever heard. Because it's a bunch of voices you don't hear being able to talk about topics they don't really get to cover, and I found it very interesting.
It was very interesting. It mainly discussed. I mean, I could kind of just. I mean, I would just say female representation in MMA media, going on in the history of boxing and women's representation in boxing and mixed martial arts. They went over a lot of different. I guess they kind of did it chronologically almost.
Yeah, and it was kind of an interesting.
As far as how they.
Yeah, it was an interesting back and forth about like both just the kind of the comparisons between MMA and boxing, and then comparisons between MMA, like female MMA fighters, I should say women MMA fighters, and journalists who are women, and kind of the shared struggles and differences in those struggles. And I just found it all very fascinating.
It was fascinating, and I got some insight, things I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware of 50 years ago, women in Brazil couldn't even compete in sports.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty insane.
And I think she said that lasted up until way more recent than 50 years ago, too, in some of the circles.
I didn't realize, this makes sense, but I didn't realize Julie Kedzie, she said you had to look for fights using internet forums.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. There was an infamous site. Oh, man. What was it? I want to say... I'm going to mess up the name of it. Fighter Girls, I believe, was the name of the forum back in the day. I believe it was the Fighter Girls.
I think so, yeah. She even name-dropped the person who organized it, but I can't.
Yeah, it's an infamous thing where, like, yeah, I mean, well, a lot of fights were made on the underground at the time, and the underground was it still is absolutely inaccessible for women. Honestly, it's inaccessible for most human beings because of how people behave on there. But I can't.
You're talking about what? The underground?
Yeah, the UG. The notoriously the best and worst forum in all of sports.
Like Reddit being Reddit's mostly bad.
It's like Reddit if there was no IQ test to get on. And also if no one knew the internet and was like 20, 25, 30 years older. Than all the Reddit community. The UG is a very, very weird special time capsule that I don't recommend anyone ever visit again. But it's really interesting hearing her talk about that. And then, of course, there was the exact opposite of that with the forum that a lot of the women got on, started booking fights that way. But it's cool, it's cool hearing her entrance into the sport. And then they brought up some really interesting arguments about like Ronda's success, and not only that she had a lot of different qualities that a lot of previous women in the sport had, but she just had all of them at once. And then they also discuss how much the fact that she was a blonde American, attractive or marketable woman, and how much
also her being white.
White, yes, white was a bit. Yeah, I guess I should specify blonde doesn't necessarily always mean white. So yes, a white American woman, and how much that played into her success. And it's just really interesting discussions. Again, I mean, Julie Kedzie, white blonde woman who's from America, and she was one of the people who brought that up, which I find those discussions very, very interesting, and a lot of strong, very, very strong voices, like with strong, well-formed opinions.
Nancy Kidder discussed, I think she said she pulled up some statistic stating over 40% of women face some form of harassment, being whether it's sexual harassment or discrimination in the workplace, whether it's in the sports. I don't know if she said it was in the sports world specifically or just
I don't remember
generally. I just kind of what's the fucking word? Juxtaposing it to male counterparts or male colleagues. If you juxtapose it with that. I know Laura Sanko talked about how she really wants to be a commentator, but she says she's not going to take away. She doesn't necessarily want to take someone's job, albeit, Daniel Cormier, Paul Felder, she named off all these different commentators who are good at their job.
She also had one of the most heartbreaking things I've maybe heard during all of this, which is that she said kind of offhandedly while trying not to, I would argue, while trying not to get in trouble, she said, Yeah, I mean, like, it's frustrating being told, like, you look like a reporter.
Yeah.
Which, like, fuck, man. I don't know if that, like, and who knows? That could be ESPN. That could be UFC. Could be fucking Disney for all we know. But, it's bad. That's a bad thing to say in the year 2020 to a woman. You can't go around telling attractive blonde women they look like a reporter, especially since she fucking fought before. And I guarantee the person who said it did not. Yeah, it's a lot of really interesting discussions around that, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I honestly I have nothing but like amazing things to say about this. I think it's one of the most interesting shows that are happening right now, and I think I believe she's doing it mostly as a because the time off with the quarantine and everything. I believe she's basically hosting these panels as like a class. I believe, I'm not positive. And I'm hoping to reach out to her. She actually DM'd me, so I'm hoping to reach out to her to learn more kind of about the history of.
Yeah, I'm glad I tuned in. I listened about like maybe 3/4 of it, and it was insightful. I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
And I was, I was tuned in, man.
Yeah, and she's had a couple of them. She's had ones with, I believe I mentioned Esther Lynn. She had on previously. I know she did one with Trent Reinsmith and Jason Cruz, which I'm really interested to check out. I haven't gotten to that one yet, and a couple others as well. Brendan Fitzgerald, I believe, was on one, and yeah, it's just interesting discussions that I'm interested to hear more about. So I always appreciate new voices and different voices in the sport, and different opinions coming from people and kind of history and everything that I don't know anything about, because I'm just some fucking white dude listening to podcasts. So I appreciate people giving me insight into things I don't experience, because I don't know, that's how you learn and shit, right?
Exactly.
Cool, man. Well, I guess I'll rattle off some other stuff. Oh, you know what? Did you listen to any new shows this week aside from writing and fighting?
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Did you listen to any new shows this week aside from writing and fighting?
Yeah, the Sean O'Malley's
right.
podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give that a listen again. I might have caught him on an odd day.
Yeah, and that should
weird conversation.
Yeah.
He was definitely not sober, so it's all good.
Well, there you go. Do you know what he was smoking? That's the question.
Probably wax. I can't hang with that shit, dude. Just give me flour. Like, I can't deal with that, dude.
Well, as I hit this Tangy vape, I will continue into my next one. Oh, so I listened to a couple new shows this week. The Insiders episode 1, which, Chris, I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but Shaq from the podcast with Kajan Johnson. What the fuck was the name of that show? Why can I not think of the name of it? It had punch in the name, right? It's not Pull No Punches. Was it Pull No Punches?
Wait, what show are you talking about?
The one with Kajan Johnson and Shaq. Was it Pull No Punches? It was, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Also, did you know Shaq is only like 24?
No.
I've been listening to that, but yeah, it was Pull No Punches with Kajan Johnson, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce Shaq's last name and butcher it. But yeah, he has a new show where he interviews people, and his first one was with Luke Thomas. Spoiler, he also said his second episode was with Brian Campbell. And it's interesting. He asks... He's a good interviewer. I've always liked his interviews, especially even back on the Pull No Punches podcast with Kajan. Dude definitely like does his research and looks into stuff. He's pretty casual. He reminds me a little bit of... he's got like a little bit of Nick Baldwin vibes. He has a little bit of Cassius Morris vibes for anybody who was a fan of the What's Good podcast back in the day with Freddie Lockhart. I just enjoy him quite a bit overall. But he, for example, some questions he asked Luke was, has the PED discussion or the COVID discussion been more difficult throughout your career? Which is an interesting kind of juxtaposition where you're like, yeah, I mean, it's interesting hearing what kind of Luke's takes on that. He also talks about first impressions of Brian, working at MMA fighting and Bloody Elbow, guilty pleasures, stuff like that. So it's definitely an interesting interview, and I look forward to what Shaq has coming in the future, because I think he is a sharp dude who is pretty fucking clever, and I have a feeling we're gonna hear a lot more from that dude going forward because he's getting real polished, and yeah, recommend keeping an eye on it.
I'm impressed he's that sharp already at that young of an age. So
well, I mean, I honestly thought he was my age or older, which I'm 31, I guess, as of a couple days ago. I think that's right. I should probably do that math, huh? But yeah, I guess that's
no. You are. You're
31.
Yeah, I'm about to be 29 in like a month and a half. So yeah.
See, I always have to base it off of whatever your guys' age is. Cause I'm 2 years old.
No, yeah. Like all of us, we're all 91ers.
Well, yeah, because you're all my brother's age, so that's why I can keep track of it. But yeah, anyway, overall, I really liked it quite a bit. I also listened to a new podcast on the Loudmouth MMA network called Shooting the Shit. It is hosted by Riley Contek. Man, I don't know about this show. To be fair, Tanya Evinger was the guest, and it was great. Tanya Evinger just says all kinds of crazy shit. She talks about smoking mad blunts before going to Invicta press conferences because her friends always try and get her high right after the fights. And then she always has to answer questions, doesn't know what she's talking about. She talks about not drinking during fight camps, and they tell some stories of like Chuck Liddell showing up, or Tanya seeing Chuck Liddell in the club, like two-fisting drinks the night before a fight. And then like dudes like Cody McKenzie drinking super hard to cut weight.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Remember that motherfucker from Tough?
Yeah, exactly. She did also mention that. Remember, she had that really bad leg break a year or two ago.
I believe so. Yeah.
So she mentioned that was because she was training against some bigger dude, and he essentially just like kind of was being fucked up, and she split up with her coaches from it and everything over it.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy hearing that. She also said that she literally for her last fight she took 4 weeks off to train because she works in the oil fields right now. So she took 4 weeks off to train and then fought, which is why she thinks she probably did not have the best performance. She also hinted she's probably going to Bellator here in the near future.
Okay.
So yeah, it's cool hearing from Tanya. I'm a big Tanya Evinger fan. One could argue my worst series of picks of all time has been Tanya Evinger's career in the UFC. I think I picked her for every single fight she had, and none of those went well. Including the Chris Cyborg one, which
I think you picked her against Cyborg.
I know I did because our tag on Reddit, which it forever will be, is I picked Evinger AMA.
Oh, the flare.
Yeah, our flare on Reddit forever.
God damn it! I think mine right now. Last time I checked, it says something like really dumb, and it says like in quotes, and it says Stephen A. Smith. It's like, God damn it.
It chokes out.
I think it says like I think it says Stephen A. knows best. I think is mine. It's like, God fucking damn it. I think that's my flair.
That just ages worse and worse as days go on.
It's like, yes, okay, he was right about Cowboy, kind of, whatever. You know? I mean, because technically he was, based on what Cowboy said, but who cares? Like, yeah, not everyone has, every fighter has not always had a good day.
He said Cowboy quit. Cowboy didn't quit. Cowboy didn't show up.
Well, he said he looked like he didn't want to be there, and Cowboy said, "Yeah, I didn't want to be there." So that's the only real part of it that he got
he looked
right.
Like he didn't want to be there, in that like he looked like he quit. Like, it doesn't line up as well.
The point is, not every fighter is mentally prepared. Sometimes you have an off day. It is what it is. And Cowboy has admitted he sometimes feels like shit. So,
and also Stephen A. Smith just doesn't know shit about the sport, which is the other thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, so the only thing about this show, Riley is doing the lazy fucking podcast, Just Bleed fan shit the whole time, where he's like, fucking MMA media is just a bunch of fucking pussies. I tell them that all the time on Twitter. You're like, oh, God damn it. Like, there's a lot of that during this, so if that doesn't bother you, but, that disclosure is out there, though. And then other than that, let's see. I got some honorable mentions. Did you have any?
No, I'm done.
Let's see. Honorable mentions I have real quick. Man in the Myth for May 4th. this was actually the reason why, leading into this fight, as I mentioned if you guys were one of the few who stopped into the Zoom chat for Severe MMA. Actually, you know what? I should mention that as well. Severe MMA Patreon Zoom chat for May 5th was a lot of fun. I was hanging out in there drinking Corona seltzers like a fucking asshole on my lunch break.
How is that? It just tastes like any other seltzer?
Exactly. Yeah, it tastes like every other seltzer. But Darren Till joined. It was pretty good. Ian Gary was on there. And then Sean Sheehan asked us what our picks were. I said, well, I can't in good conscience pick Tony Ferguson since his cornerman and head coach is Eddie fucking Bravo during a pandemic. So that was a lot of fun. But also the reason why I went with Justin Gaethje in the main event is because Trevor Whitman was on the Man of the Myth podcast, and he mentioned that Gaethje has changed a lot, especially after his second loss, and that's when he really learned how and when to push the red line and when to back off of it. And that's exactly what won him the fight against Tony over and over again. You could see moments where normally he would be rushing in with like 14 punch combinations and getting reckless, where he takes a step back, he takes a deep breath and resets, and then just keep pushing forward and bombing left hands on Tony Ferguson's entire fucking shit. And yeah, it was really insightful interview with Trevor Whitman, so I highly recommend that. The Come On Now podcast, the UFC 249 health and safety fiasco. That is a very, very good podcast in which Trent Reinsmith addresses a lot of the problems, all of the problems. Jacare testing positive, Jacare taking pictures with everybody, a fighter and his team going to a steakhouse in Jacksonville after weigh-ins, but before they heard about Jacare testing positive. Which, that's not social distancing if you're going to a fucking steakhouse in Jacksonville after weigh-ins and then fighting the next day. Anyway. Care Don't Care for UFC 249 was really solid. Between rounds, round table for UFC 249 was good. Jeff Sherwood, Rob Tatum, and Nick Albert, I believe. Sixth round post-fight show for UFC 249 with Eddie and Zane was a lot of fun. The Eugene S. Robinson Showstopper V112 was I really liked that one a lot. He shows off his backyard garden too, which is pretty cool, and he talks about kind of the conflicted feelings around UFC 249. And then we mentioned Fights Come By 205, so that's what I got. Let's see, Chris, do you have any well-rounded stuff? Any non-MMA related stuff you wanted to give a shout out to?
Let's see. I always listen to Chris D'Elia's podcast. Congratulations. Go give that a listen. Go listen to Bill Burr's podcast, the Monday Morning Podcast. As far as movies or TV that I've watched, what was it? I don't have cable because if I did, I would definitely tune into The Last Dance that everyone keeps talking about, the Michael Jordan.
You can watch that on. Can't you watch that on ESPN Plus?
It's not available on ESPN Plus.
Oh, really? That sucks.
At least I haven't seen him upload any of the parts.
Oh man, that sucks. I thought it was.
And maybe I'm wrong. I think I tried looking for it.
I can't tell because I have both, and it does not make it clear.
Other than that, what the fuck did I just watch that was pretty badass? Because I can't really get into a TV show right now at this point. That's a lot of. I can, but yeah.
Gotta watch The Wire.
I gotta finish The Wire, I guess, at that point. But no, I've just been more into movies. It's just easier for me for my attention span at this point. Just watch a really good flick. I still gotta watch Parasite. I'll watch Parasite or some shit and let you know how I think, because that won all the fucking Oscars.
Yeah, I still have yet to see it, but I really want to because I heard great things about it. I actually heard great things about it a year or something ago when it was in Korea. I think Anderson Cowan on the Film Vault talked about it, if I remember right. Somebody like that. Speaking of Anderson Cowan on the Film Vault, actually, the After Disaster, episode 540, was incredible. I don't know how well that show works for people who don't know all the people involved because they are very specific personalities with very weird quirks. So I don't know how well that works when you don't know all those dudes, but they're hilarious and I enjoyed it. The Lapsed Fan, episode 230. They did an episode called Collision in Korea, which is all about the WCW show in North Korea in the, I believe, late 80s. And it's fucking fascinating. Because evidently WCW, I believe it's WCW or WWE, here I'll look it up while I'm talking, but they did a show in North Korea that was like state sponsored, and I think it's still the biggest event ever. It was at Pyongyang, North Korea, at the Rungandu venue, the Rungrado 1st of May Stadium.
How the fuck did Kim Jong-il at that time ever let that happen?
So there was a weird crossover thing with New Japan Pro Wrestling and with what's dude's name? Not Eminari. Who is the fucking? Why can I not think of his name? It's the dude who fought. It was it's Takayama? No, not Takayama. Who am I thinking of? There's a famous Asian dude who was basically going around doing press at the time. Is it Inoue? Might have been Inoue.
Oh, pro wrestling reminds me, go listen to Your Mom's House from this week. Tom Segura was trending on Twitter because he was shitting all over people who liked the WWE, and it was hilarious.
That's hilarious. Oh, yeah, no. I've seen pro wrestlers going at him all week on Twitter, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I forget which famous Japanese pro wrestler / I think it's a pro wrestler. I'm mixing it up because I've listened to this show a couple days ago, and I am terrible with names. But anyway, essentially it was some big crossover where that dude was going around doing press. I want to say maybe it was... Oh, no, you know what? It's Inoki. It's fucking Antonio Inoki. His fucking name is right there on the poster. Inoki at the time was going around and doing like weird press with like fucking Soviet countries and shit. Like he was in Russia talking to Stalin and shit, and then never actually getting anything done, but doing a weird wrestling event. So anyway, it's very weird, and they have a bunch of really good jokes about about how Koreans understand kayfabe better than anybody on the planet. And that they live the gimmick on the regs. So it's real good. Let's see. Oh, the only thing other than that is the Doug Stanhope 30-day news blackout episodes that he's doing on his Patreon. Actually, I guess it's on his regular podcast feed as well, but you can see the video versions on the Patreon. And yeah, it's fucking great. You want 30 days of Doug Stanhope getting drunk and not looking at news? You got it. And it's fantastic. So that's what I got. Chris, you got anything else before we get back and talk quickly about how fucking insane this card last night was?
No, that's it for me.
Cool, man. Well, we will be right back to talk about how goddamn wild this card was. But in the meantime, y'all can hear this clip of Heavy Hands, episode 315, where Connor Rebush teaches us a little something about Florida. So we'll be right back.
Liked by the sound of violence.
So really the card just shouldn't be happening. Where is this taking place again? What state was
Jacksonville, Florida.
Criminal enough? Oh, is that a surprise? Florida. Literally the United States' lowest hanging fruit. The disgraceful dong of America has allowed this event, feloniously allowed this event to take place, endangering all the fighters, and I'm assuming we're going to have an arena full of fans coughing and sneezing on each other and whatnot.
Are you excited about it all?
Liked by the sound of violence.
For the first time in my life, I really have no idea how to cover this sport, to be perfectly honest with you. And then did you see this whole shit about how it wasn't just fighters who signed a non-disparagement clause. It was media. Did y'all see that shit? Media signed a clause, the terms of which we need greater clarification on. Are you fucking shitting me that media signed a non-disparagement clause? I mean, wow. Okay. You know, I don't even, what am I even supposed to say about this shit anymore? You know?
Are you excited about it all?
Liked by the sound of violence.
So really, the card just shouldn't be happening. Where is this taking place again? What state was
Jacksonville, Florida.
Criminal enough? Oh, is that a surprise? Florida, literally the United States' lowest hanging fruit. The disgraceful dong of America has allowed this event, feloniously allowed this event to take place, endangering all the fighters, and I'm assuming we're going to have an arena full of fans coughing and sneezing on each other and whatnot.
Liked by the sound of violence.
So really, the card just shouldn't be happening. Where is this taking place again? What state was
Jacksonville, Florida.
criminal enough? Oh, is that a surprise? Florida, literally the United States' lowest hanging fruit. The disgraceful dong of America has allowed this event, feloniously allowed this event to take place, endangering all the fighters, and I'm assuming we're going to have an arena full of fans coughing and sneezing on each other and whatnot.
Are you excited about it all?
All right, everybody, we are back.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, you see, it's been a while. It took Chris a second. I was wondering how that was going to go.
But then usually I'm the one that says we are back, and then you say yeah, we are.
You're
so
right.
I kinda caught me off guard.
I'm the one that fucked that up then, really. That's
All good.
That's hilarious. It's been a while, y'all. We actually have a card to talk about. We're not going to be previewing the card coming up on Wednesday, number one, because I'm still not convinced necessarily that it's going to happen, depending on how these tests come back in 24 hours.
It seems rushed to me either way.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I feel like every one of these is going to feel rushed up until we start getting some negative reports or positive
they gotta
reports.
honor that fucking deal with ESPN, right?
Hey, the only way you make money is you kill people.
No.
So,
Rest in peace, Jacare.
that's right. Oh man, that's a dark joke.
I'm kidding. He'll be fine. He's a top athlete.
No.
He actually will probably be fine.
He'll be fine. Rest in peace, Jacare's immediate family. This joke is not getting funny.
God damn it! I remember I saw some YouTube comment where it said Jacare was never my friend. It said in quotes and it says COVIDinho 19. I'm like, God.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Oh my God.
Fuck damn it! I laughed though.
I mean, we both just did. Yeah, we both just did. I can't help it. That's a joke that yeah, that's good stuff, but also bad stuff. Anyway, so we are here to recap this UFC 249 card. But before I do that, Chris, are you still drinking the same thing?
Nope. I am drinking the official sponsor of the 007 films. And also, if you're ever in Amsterdam, you've probably been to this headquarters.
On Beck's? I know it's not Beck's.
Good old not Beck's. Heineken.
Good old not Beck's. Oh shit! I almost forgot to bring up to you. Have you seen the Stone documentary called Beer Jesus?
I've heard of it, and I've seen tidbits about it. And
It's on Amazon, and a lot of it's about the Berlin one closing. And I'm
gonna have to watch it.
Dude, I think we might actually have to do a commentary for that, where you watch it live, because there is let's do a commentary for sure. It seems to be all focused around the Berlin one, which you actually, I believe we were doing shows at the time. Where
Dude, that place is rad.
I think one of the Ryzen commentary tracks we did back in the day, like when I was first started dating girlfriend Karen, I think was when you were over there and you just got back like that night or the night after.
Yeah, no, that place was fucking super rad. I remember, and ironically, the server that I had was an American who happened to be living in Germany.
That's awesome.
He's like, I was just tired of living in Chicago. I just needed a new chapter in life. I'm like, hey man, that's what's up though.
Hey, you got a good ass story. If you're like, yo, I was working in Chicago, then I went to work for Stone in fucking Berlin. That's cool, man. So I am drinking. Wait, what did you say you were drinking? Oh, right. Heineken. Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon, bro. Oh, no, wait. Can't even make that joke because my favorite frosty beverage drinker is a goddamn liar. So
I know.
Anyway, I'm very soft. I like to give John Morgan the benefit of the doubt, but god damn it, bro. I can't.
He's a sellout.
Like, I get, like, it's one thing when you want to, like, drop hints on your podcast to, like, everybody, since you can get away with that, which I appreciate, and he always does. He even did this week during the episode. But, bro, you can't just fucking... anyway, I am drinking... Chris, I somehow never actually heard of this beer before I saw it at Par Liquor this week. Death by King Cake from Oscar Blues.
Yeah, I can't say I've heard of that.
You know what King Cake is, right?
What is it?
King Cake?
Wait, King, like as in a monarch?
Yeah, like King Cake.
King Cake? No, I haven't heard of that. What is that?
So if I told you, probably have. You might not remember the name. It's the cake that they give out during Mardi Gras. It's like a tradition down in Louisiana and especially New Orleans. Or I guess, I don't know, does Alabama also do King Cake?
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely know what Mardi Gras is.
Well, no, so during Mardi Gras, there's a tradition that you give a cake. And it's basically just like a circular... It's like a circular cake that is has a lot of cinnamon and a ton of frosting on it. It's very fucking rich, like everything in New Orleans, and it's delicious. But there's a baby in it somewhere, and whoever gets the baby piece has to buy the king cake next year. And king cakes are a long tradition.
Like a plastic baby doll?
Yeah, like a little tiny plastic baby doll. They bake it into the cake, and if you get the slice with the baby in it, then you have to buy the cake next year. It's like, I don't know, it's some weird fucking old tradition. But
that sounds very Cajun.
It does. I assume it has some kind of... I actually don't know the origins of king cakes, which I probably should.
Like, hey, you found the baby, mon ami.
I mean, it's like that, but with less of a Cheech kind of accent going on.
Yeah.
Orale, nice baby home. But
no, I love the baby.
Anyway, you'll get a better feel for this beer when I tell you it is a blonde porter. I believe they actually refer to it as a white porter, which is weird. But it's a white porter.
That's racist.
It's a white porter with vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, cocoa nibs, and orange peel and pecans.
That sounds really fucking good.
Dude, and if I tell you it's very subtle and like it's just on the very back end that you taste it, this is one of the best Oscar Blues beers I've had, and I love Oscar Blues.
What's the ABV on it? You said it's a blonde?
Yeah, it's 6.5.
What is it like? I was gonna say, what is it, like 5.8?
Blonde porter.
Okay. Oh, blonde porter.
Yeah, they call it a white porter, which I don't even know what that means. But I'm guessing that means a blonde porter, like a golden stout kind of thing, right?
What? Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm hearing shit. Yeah, that's interesting, man. That sounds really good.
It's really, really good, and it's like very, very subtle. I highly recommend it. But anyway, we are not here to talk about whatever random beers I'm drinking from Par Liquor in Claremont, San Diego. Shout out to Par Liquor, not a sponsor. I just fucking love those guys. I wish they were a sponsor. Shit, they'd be giving me more beer than I'd be buying. Anyway, we're here to talk UFC 249. Chris, all things considered, now that we've spent most of the episode talking shit about all the lack of safety precautions, all the shills, all the questionable marketing, all the questionable decisions by every single person who was a corner. Also, I'd like to start out this by saying one day we are going to play the UFC 249 drinking game, which is you take a drink every time someone's violating social distance rules and regulations. Which is every mask that's not on, every person who hugs an opposite team's corner, every time Joe Rogan shakes someone's hand, which is every single fight. It's going to be the greatest drinking game of all time, but I'm not ready for it yet. But overall, what were your feelings on this card, aside from like the actual card itself? How did you feel about it? Like the actual fights?
Fantastic.
Fucking really incredible, right?
Yeah, one of the better cards one of the better pay-per-view cards. Pay-per-views overall you could ask for, including the prelims. Really solid all around. Especially the main fucking event. Holy shit.
Well, and overall, this was just one of the most violent cards I've maybe ever seen. Like, there was legit violence in a lot of these fights.
Let's go ahead and you want to start off with the first fight of the night.
Kick it. Start off at the bottom. Kick it off.
Yes, we had a light heavyweight bout between Ryan Spann and Sam Alvey. Since this isn't a preview, I don't really have to just kind of go ahead and say. Well, I could say what it doesn't matter. This is a hell of a fight. This is a lot better than I thought it would be. I've seen a lot of Sam Alvey fights. I've seen Ryan Spann fight before, and I remember him. Sam Alvey to me is either he's really fucking boring. Well, actually, to be honest, most fights to me he's pretty fucking boring. So this was kind of nice. He was a lot more active than I'm used to. He was kind of slipping in there with the punches. He was taking a lot of shots, and he had that really sneaky right hand, that overhand right that he kept slipping in on Ryan Spann when Spann would kind of back away after kind of holding up his guard.
His volume was way better than normal.
Yeah, so it was a banger of a fight. I was pleasantly surprised. I think they gave it. It's a split decision. They gave it to Spann. I think I still scored it for him, even though Alvey kind of stole was the last round. He liked that barrage of punches.
Dude, Spann gassed hard towards the end of that fight, and Alvey was banging him up. But to be fair, they were fucking each other up for most of that fight. It was good to see Alvey active. I wonder how much of his better improved activity is his wife not being in his corner.
I remember they mentioned that.
Dude, he seemed to fight very different, and I wonder how much of that is not hearing your wife in your corner while you're trying to fight. Because I get that it works for Dave the Rhino Marshall and fucking oh god, who's the infamous chick who always screams when her husband fights? I keep wanting to say Gilbert Melendez, but that's not right.
Oh, it was Eddie Alvarez.
Eddie Alvarez, thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking of, yeah. I knew it was somebody who fought Gilbert Melendez. I just couldn't remember who. But yeah, man, fucking Eddie's wife was the best. But yeah, I wonder how much that played into it, but also I think a lot of this, too, was just Sam Alvey really showing up, in a real way in a fight, and it was cool to see. He actually came out and threw. Ryan Spann blew a lot of energy on takedown attempts, which I get in the long run. I wouldn't say it's smart game planning against Sam Alvey, who's notoriously good at stuffing takedowns or popping right back up for that division. But yeah, overall fun fight, and they went out there and threw just about everybody. So fun way to open the card.
Yeah, good.
Definitely had Ryan Spann winning though.
Yeah, I think I had those first two rounds for him, and I gave Alvey the last one.
Yeah, Sam definitely won the last round with the amount he hurt Ryan towards the end, but I definitely had the first two for Ryan.
And this second fight was a men's featherweight bout between Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa. Both these men are jiu-jitsu savants, black belts.
One of them's a black belt. I don't know that Bryce Mitchell is actually a black belt, but he just sunned a black belt on the ground.
Well, he should be now.
Yeah. Good God, man. I've never seen so many twister attempts in my fucking life. An Eddie Bravo tutorial doesn't have this many goddamn twister attempts. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Bryce Mitchell just looked incredible. I mean, his ability... I mean, you can see he has very clearly worked on a system where he works for top control, head and arm triangle. If you get out of the head and arm triangle, you give your back. He gets the one hook, and then he goes for the twister, and you just cycle between the two, whichever way you turn. And he just cooks motherfuckers, and it is effective as shit. Some of those head and arm triangles, I'm really, really surprised he didn't finish. I think part of it was he just didn't want to blow his arms out, because it seems like a couple of those, if he just waited them out, he would have got it. We forgot to mention in the last fight, Ryan Spann had a pretty nasty head and arm triangle on Sam Alvey early.
That's when Sam Alvey was fucking smiling while he's getting choked out.
Dude, that's the most Sam Alvey thing of all time, where the ref's like, show me you're good, and Sam Alvey smiles. You're like, okay, well, yep. That's the most Sam Alvey thing you could do. But man, if you were to tell me this fight was to happen 100 times before this, if you were to tell me 100 times these two guys are going to fight, who's going to win the grappling exchanges more times, I would say Bryce Mitchell would have won them maybe 10 times out of 100. And after watching it, I think he wins 90 out of 100, if not more. That was incredible to see that dude's transitions and just how he was always able to stay a step ahead of Rosa in maintaining top control every single time in every single transition. It was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a fucking impressive performance in all fronts with the grappling. The fact that like you're saying, he was able to attempt so many twisters. I was pretty speechless. Damn.
That's weird. It's weird to be able to do that many, like even set yourself up for that many times. And he was getting takedowns into twister positions, like pretty fucking wild. Yeah. Oh my god! Speaking of wild,
I'll let you. Intro this next one.
This fight, I probably going into this fight, I definitely had Vicente Luque just since he won the previous fight. And Nico Price while he's an anomaly, I have trouble putting faith in him to be able to close the show consistently, just because he's so wild and he wins in such weird ways over time that I feel like a dude like Vicente Luque is way too technical, and a lot of that proved out in this fight. But good God, did Nico Price land some huge bombs in the first round. After the end of the first, I for sure thought Nico was going to start taking over. Just how well he was able to land huge shots in transitions. And then Vicente Luque eventually over time just starts breaking him down. If I remember right, I mean, both dudes were landing. There was a ton of nasty leg kicks throughout the night, actually, now that I think about it. Like, everybody.
It's funny, I couldn't even tell you how many leg kicks there were because I just saw them fucking throwing hands and just covering up.
Well, that too. But yeah, I mean, they were throwing a lot of nasty leg kicks. But yeah, both dudes just throwing, both dudes landing. Vicente Luque said I believe afterwards, said he was working on his head movement more. Which, I mean, I guess I can see that in the fact that he got hit in the head a lot and was trying to move out of the way. So I guess that counts as working on it. But good God, was everyone there to get hit by everything, it seemed like. And then towards the end of that fight, I mean, there was a couple shots there. The left hook that Vicente Luque caught Nico Price with in, I believe, the third round that put him down was like almost a Rory McDonald Robbie Lawler style reaction where he just completely crumbled after eating that shot, and then not long after his eye completely blew up, which at first I thought it was the cut that was the problem, but yeah, clear. I mean, I gotta imagine dude broke his orbital, right? Did that come out?
100%. That's what it looked like to me. And another fighter on this card had their orbital broken, and it looked pretty identical. So that would be my guess. And Nico Price, or Nike Pierce as we call him, didn't really show like he was bothered. Maybe he's just kind of a fucking shit-eating wild man.
Yeah, he's a shit-eating wild man for sure. Like that dude.
Arguably this was the most standing main fight on the whole card. This is a great fight.
Incredible. Arguably should have won fight of the night, I would say. Just because it was more back and forth.
And that brings us to this next fight, which, if I'm honest, couldn't really pay attention to. Mostly because there was just a lack of, let's just say, Michelle Waterston was throwing strikes out of range.
Oh, you mean she was Winkle-Johning her way through to a decision win?
And I don't ever want to say bad things about a gym because I don't belong to an MMA gym, and I can't really talk shit because I'm not a fighter. But yeah,
Pro tip, Chris, no one who's a fighter belongs to an MMA gym right now. Or who's not a fighter, because there are no gyms open, at least in California.
Yeah, man, that gym is just disappointing to me.
Specifically, Mike Winklejohn. Like, because I feel like a Six Gun is a pretty effective striking coach for the people he works with. Like the people who work with Six Gun Gibson seem to have a completely
Gibson's the one who left, right?
Yeah, but I mean that a lot of the people, there were a lot of people from Jackson's who worked with him. It's Mike Winklejohn specifically that is like the fucking, I believe it's Zane Simon, I think, who always calls it the wacky inflatable tube man striking, or no, it's Conor Rebus who always refers to it as the leaf blower kickboxing.
I will always say this:
leaf blower kickboxing is the best.
And I will always reiterate: Imagine if John Jones, if he had his head on his shoulders and was responsible, and he was at ATT.
Then he'd be Daniel Cormier, and he'd get beat up by some dude on coke all the time who's shooting off guns in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, no. That's literally this point. Imagine if he wasn't what he is.
I know, but I feel like if he wasn't what he is, then some other dude would be what he is and be the
he'd
wild
have to
man
take his
that
role.
does
I
crazy
get it.
shit.
Yeah, the balance of the universe, right? The way of like, fuck, you're probably right. Never mind.
You can't have
anyway,
nice
yeah,
things, is my point.
good win by Carlos Esparza. It was a weird fucking fight.
Yeah, it was always going to be this kind of fight. I would have liked to see Carla Esparza deal with the distance better throughout the early rounds. Man, she really had trouble closing distance, but also Michelle Watterson was not landing anything. And I wonder how clearly Michelle Watterson would have won this fight if there was a crowd, because I think it would have been pretty clear. I think she definitely would have won.
Yeah, weird fight. Anyways, this next fight was...
Speaking of weird fights, Alexei
Also weird.
Olnick evidently has all the cardio, and Fabricio Verdum evidently is just Alexei Olnick now.
So how would you score this? I kind of thought Verdum won.
Did you? Because he got beat up for like real bad for like a whole round.
I mean, he did get pieced the fuck up in the first round. I guess I thought his jiu-jitsu, I think he maybe took the third round, but I guess that's about it. I don't know.
He literally didn't do much for a lot of this fight. I don't know. It's heavyweight. I have trouble giving credit to anyone either way. The first round definitely Alexei won because Verdum didn't do anything. He just got beat up a whole bunch. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I have nothing else to say about this. Fun jiu-jitsu transitions. There was a couple times Verdum looked like he kind of had it won. But Olenek, kind of like Charles Rosa, just had really good defense and was able to kind of slip out and just kind of move his hips and just get out of position.
Yeah.
So good on him.
Well, and I was impressed with how well both Alexei was able to hang on the ground and how well Fabricio Verdum was able to just take fucking damage and not go down. Like, good God, did that dude take some shots.
Yeah. Yeah, solid one by Olenek. I don't know what the fuck that dude's had 73 fights. I'd probably retire if I'm him, but that's just the outside looking in. I don't know what else to put that. I mean, that's a lot of goddamn fights. So.
Yeah, I don't know what he does next, but also, like, I don't know. Same thing he's doing, I guess. Like, so it's working.
So this next fight was a rematch 7 years in the making. How did you score this? Because I saw a lot of people saying evidently that Cowboy should have won. I scored it for Pettis. I think I gave him the last.
Yeah,
that's what I had too. Yeah, and this podcast dude like, "Oh, bro, Pettis should have lost." But then I remember in that podcast they went back and recanted that statement, saying, "Oh no, a lot of people." So I think it was kind of initially people. Yeah, no, I scored this for Pettis. I remember when the fight ended, I'm like, Pettis won. So I don't know. It was a close fight though.
Yeah, I had it definitely as close. And Cerrone looked better than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, he looked like he wanted to be there, right?
Yeah, and he definitely, there was moments early when I was like, oh. But then you could see him turn the corner and really start throwing, like, when he starts getting his long combos going, he starts doing his tech and shit. Like, he looked better than I thought he was going to, for sure. And I was surprised that Pettis worked the body pretty significantly, and Cerrone stood up to it, which I was surprised about as well. Because he got tagged with some shots to the body. And yeah, like something that's notoriously been a problem for Cerrone was not. And also, Cerrone turned it on pretty quick in this fight too. He didn't take a long time to get going, which I thought was impressive, all things considered. Because that's something that's notoriously been a weakness of his.
Yeah, they both. Pettis they both were finding. It was pretty even fight. They both were finding range. They both were just basically fighting like just conventional kickboxers. There was good leg kick exchanges. It was a mix up of everything. I don't recall seeing any grappling. It was just a solid fight.
Anyway, yeah.
So what do you think about this next fight, this heavyweight fight? This fight is one I thought
I don't know what fight you're talking about.
So I'll just talk about this because then I was joking when it was going on. I'm like, oh, this is when Pulver's gonna say it doesn't exist. But
yeah, so because I remember that there was like some ghost or something that like existed.
So
for some
I'll
point
say
in
this. So
time where,
basically,
like,
the ghost ended up winning because I know you're not gonna acknowledge this. So I think
no, you know
more
what?
or
Let's
less.
talk about it, but don't ever say his name.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So basically, I thought DeCastro won that first shot handily. He had to get out. He was throwing hands. He
smash
kind of had to. Yeah, he was clipping the ghost pretty good. And after that, I think it was just an apparent foot injury from DeCastro.
Yeah, check.
I just slimmed down. So I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, bro, it's fixed." You know, it's just like, what? No, the guy couldn't even fucking put weight on his foot. Like, come on. And the Ghost had a good jab, and the Ghost is at one of the best gyms in the world, arguably. And he's say what you want about the Ghost, he's not a good person. Granted, he's not a good person at all, but. He's a fucking athlete.
I don't want to call him the Ghost because it gives him too much credibility.
Yeah, it kind of makes him sound badass.
Yeah.
So
you should call him the alleged
invisible.
assault victim. Alleged assaulter.
Just call him the assaulter.
Yeah. Just call him DV.
I don't fucking know what to call this guy.
Call him DV. I approve of calling him DV.
Yeah, DV works. So DV did what he had to do. He kept landing with that solid fucking quick jab. The guy's got good hand speed. He didn't use an inhaler this time.
He can't check a leg kick to save his motherfucking life. Well, actually, he could check one leg kick. It's the only one that mattered, I guess.
Yeah, good on DV for that fight.
Not really though. It was awful.
I'm not cheering for him.
It was it was just an awful. It wasn't. It was boring as fuck.
And I think they'll be crazy enough to give DV the loser of Harris and Overeem if that fight happens. So
oh no. What if they make DV fight Wall Harris?
Oh, that's...
You want the world's worst storylines? Oh, no. Chris, why would you do that to us?
All right, moving on. This fight...
I feel dirty.
Yeah. This fight was really fucking
Okay,
soft.
let's feel better about Calvin Kattar being able to throw... maybe the cleanest elbow in an exchange of all time.
Right when he threw that, I remember Trevor was like, "Hey, when has someone done that?" I'm like, "I'm telling you right now." I'm like, Chris Weidman on Mark Munoz.
Yep,
And like
Chris
10
Weidman
seconds later, you see the tweet,
yep.
and Trevor's like, "Oh, there it is."
Yep, 100%. Dude, it's actually really similar. It's pretty crazy. Except Chris Weidman's was way scarier. But the follow-up elbow on Jeremy Stevens on the ground was what was so scary, dude.
Yeah, remember I was telling you
Calvin Kattar
Reddit
box his ass off, dude. Jesus
the Reddit
Christ.
nickname for Jeremy Stevens is Jeremy Little Eaton Stevens.
Right, I did see that. That's very funny. I thought the leg kicks were going to play in way more in this, but Kattar did a really good job of turning his shin out every single time. And it wasn't enough to like completely stop Jeremy from throwing it or really injure him, but it was enough to absorb the damage and not take the full brunt of it, So if you notice in that fight, he keeps turning just his heel in to kind of turn his shin bone out a little bit, and it seems like it's not enough to actually it's not like a full check, but it seems like it seems to be just enough that he feels like he can base off it and throw hands behind it. Plus, he can eat a decent amount of it and not completely ruin his calf, which was interesting. Because normally you see dudes react. There's a couple different ways dudes check those leg kicks, but I haven't seen dudes that cleanly just every single time just turn their heel in and turn their shin out. That was interesting.
Yeah, just in all, just an outstanding performance from Kattar. Jeremy Stevens had his moments too, but that boxing was just way too crisp for Stevens to kind of answer. His counters were, like you were saying, had to come from the kicking game, and even then, Kattar's movement was so crisp.
Well, and Stevens came out real sharp and like throwing hands right out the gate. Like did not start slow at all. Right out the gate was coming forward and throwing hands. But Calvin was just so crisp on the counters once he started getting a flow going.
So solid win by Calvin Kattar. I think next we should see him probably fight Yair Rodriguez, just because Rodriguez beat Stevens or something, and they're kind of near the same ranking now. It'd be a fun fight.
Yeah. I feel like he would fucking destroy Yair Rodriguez, though. And that's not what they want.
I mean, I guess
want that.
we would just have to see.
I mean, in the same way, I think that he beats Zabit in any rematch ever. I think that dude's gonna be fire in rematches.
That's right. That was a 3-round fight, and Zabit kind of had that. Yeah, I remember that was a weird fight.
Well,
Zabit's good, but I just don't trust Zabit's gas
they
tank.
gifted him that decision by sending it to fucking 3 rounds
Russia.
instead of 5, and in Russia, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that shit was questionable.
Speaking of destroyed, I mean, all we have to say is
the spazziest KO we've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's just Francis Ngannou. That's just you just have to say his first and last name, and it's what you get, man.
Fucking chin in the air, hands.
Would you think it's fair
ripping.
that he's an? Do you think it's fair as long as he's healthy that he's an inevitable champion? I don't think that's a bad argument.
I don't know, man.
Because Stipe has beat him. I think Stipe beats him again as long as he can continue that pace and that cardio
anyone who
of the
can
wrestling.
wrestle beats him.
But DCB, so Curtis Blades. Well, no, never mind. He knocked out Curtis Blades twice.
Okay, but I know, and I picked Curtis Blades both times, and in a third fight,
he probably knocks him out again.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I know, and I'm not sure I wouldn't pick Curtis.
I'm
Blades
telling you,
again.
I honestly do believe he is the future champion. I don't even know how old he is. I don't think.
Man.
I think no matter what, he's gonna knock his way out.
Right, but like he's winning championships like Chuck Liddell in 06 right now, just like chin up, hands flying.
He's an anomaly. Then is what he is. He should not be like it's. I shouldn't say he shouldn't be a fighter, but the problem
is his hands.
His fighting style shouldn't be successful.
Well, no, it shouldn't at all. Like in any other division, this wouldn't work. But it's heavyweight.
Fuck no.
So
it's heavyweight.
He has incredible, he has the most insane hand speed of anyone on the planet, arguably. And
given his weight.
And he clearly has a chin because he's gotten clipped with stuff before, and he has never really been rocked even. But
Steve kind of rocked him in their fight, but
when you watch that. The fucking Rosenstruik fight, it's so frustrating, man. He lost every part of that fight except for the one punch that landed, and none of the things he did at all would any coach ever tell you to do.
Yeah. But hey, keep your head up. I'll backpedal. All right, coach, got it.
Well, not only that, but Rosenstruik, I don't know. What do you do when a dude's just fucking humongous and just can sprint forward and has faster hands than everyone else? I guess that
his reach is like 84, so that doesn't help.
I know. But I just wish he would throw clean punches because it would be so much more effective rather than just
looping hooks.
Yeah. Dude is at any other division. People would be so mad about someone doing this. It's not Leonard Garcia-esque, but it's not far off from Leonard Garcia style strikes.
It's like when Rumble Johnson was at 170, no welterweight should hit this hard, and how are you making this weight?
Right, where they're just throwing everything because why not? Because if anything touches,
but at this point, just have Johnson go up to heavyweight and then they fight each other. I think Ngannou still wins, but who knows?
Yeah, speaking of people whose name we should maybe not mention on this show anymore, based on
DV, excuse me, yeah, sorry.
DV number 2, Florida. I was gonna say Florida DV, but they're all Florida DVs.
So let's move on to the co-main now. We were big stands, homers, what do you call it? Early stoppage or not, it's not a bad stoppage in my opinion, but the fact that there's 3 seconds left, come on.
Yeah, but number one, I mean, obviously you got to say the ref is not supposed to take into account how much.
Speaking of the ref, by the way, I didn't realize some of the comments Dominic Cruz have. I don't abide with it all. That's pretty fucked up.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, what was he saying? Keith Peterson smells like booze and cigarettes. What the fuck does that even mean?
Well, one person I saw tweet out actually that I thought was maybe the most prescient tweet about this. They said, "Hey, Dom Cruz, we're in a pandemic. Everybody smells like alcohol right now. We're all using a lot of hand sanitizer."
Yeah,
and I was that's a good point, dude.
I didn't appreciate how Cruz took that loss. It kind of reminded me of how Dillashaw took his loss.
Well, and what's crazy is Cruz was always the person that everybody pointed to as the guy who takes losses the best. Prior to this,
I think a lot of it was he hadn't fought in 3.5 years. And he seemed fine when he stood up and he was on the knee, and Sure, and yeah, there were some other fighters that said, "Fuck this! This is early stoppage," and I get it, and it's not necessarily a bad argument, but I still didn't see him winning that fight. I had Cejudo as my pick. I like Dominic Cruz a lot. I just don't. He just didn't match up well with Cejudo, and immediately once I saw in that first round, Cejudo kicking the legs, I'm like, this is over. This is done. This is done. There's no way.
Same.
Credit to Eric Abasarine, as corny and goofy as that dude is. He's a fucking fantastic head coach.
Yeah,
that dude knows how to game. That guy knows how to game plan. And speaking of him being a coach, dude, Paulo Costa against Adesanya is gonna yes, we know what Paulo Costa does, but having a head coach like that though, fuck, I'm kind of intrigued now. Like, that dude knows how to game plan.
True. I also, though, wonder how much of it is the team Henry is working with, the gym, though.
That's true.
Captain
and based
Eric
on
isn't...
Henry's mentality. I mean, yes, he always... Cringiness aside, based on his post-fight interview, that's the real Henry Cejudo, and I don't mind him at all. I like him. He's very candid. And he's
the presser was a very different person. And,
he's very
sometimes
real.
I lose sight of that, too.
Yeah, and I don't mind him at all. He seems like a really cool guy, and and does that Olympic mentality help? Fuck it, dude. All that dude did when he straight out of high school is eat, breathe, and fucking sleep wrestling. Of course he's gonna have that winning mentality. And you know what? Good on him for retiring. Do I necessarily think he's retiring for good? I don't know. It's probably a tactic to get a new contract, but 100%. If he retire, that's what I think it is. But if he retires for good, it's not a bad call. Because now you could say you beat Dominic Cruz, who's arguably the GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. He is doing the GSP thing. If GSP did it after, I don't know, beating Josh Koscheck or something like that.
Or when he didn't beat Johnny Hendricks.
Or when he won the rematch against, any of the rematches.
That rematch, excuse me. But... So this is the thing I ask you. Do you think Cejudo stays retired? I think he actually does at this point. No? You don't think so? You think it's a discount?
MMA retirements, man.
Yeah.
I've retired from MMA multiple times this week. Sean Sheehan is retired from MMA multiple times this week.
I think Cejudo stays retired for maybe about a half a year to a year, depending on what...
Well, if we count that, yeah.
No. He'll be gone for a year. I think he could... If I'm him, I'd probably pursue the WWE. I know he's small, but he definitely could play... some sort of character on there. I think it could be out. I'm not into wrestling at all.
Here's the thing, though. Does that dude's ego allow him to lose?
Subjected to a script? Yeah, probably not.
I don't know.
So,
also, way, can he do line reads? Because he's proven, arguably, over and over again on his Instagram, he cannot do line reads, much like Colby Covington has. Although then again, can the WWE roster do line reads? Now that I think about it.
I'll say this. Henry Cejudo, I think, has been one of the most improved fighters. Maybe he's always just been that good. I think he only has 2 losses. Maybe, you know what?
He turned a real corner after that first loss to DJ.
Be undefeated. People don't realize that. That loss against Benavidez, I think actually scored it for Cejudo. It was a close fight. Obviously, he lost that first fight against Mighty Mouse. I'm not taking it away from Mighty Mouse. That's a clear loss. Man, he's a near undefeated fighter.
Arguably, he lost the second fight against DJ also.
And that too.
Throw that out there, since that's how I score that every time I watch it.
I scored that for Mighty Mouse. My point is, Henry Cejudo is absolutely a fantastic fighter. I don't necessarily see him want to go away. He's fun to watch. He mixes it up. If he's truly gone, then you know what? It was fun watching him fight. As far as for Dominic Cruz goes, I would love to see him continue to fight as long as he's healthy. I think he in that second round, I think he was winning that second round. Honestly, before he caught that knee, he was catching suit on the exchanges. He was looking good.
The problem is Cejudo found that read. If you rewatch that, I just rewatched that round. You see Cejudo slowly figure out, he starts with a head kick. Head kick is blocked, but he read the head kick because Dom keeps leaning to that side. Then he starts finding the knee read as Dom, every time he crosses the distance, Dom ducks his head. So he starts trying to play with the knee. And then you see him go back and forth between the two over and over again until Dom ducks his head. It seems like what it was, he went to throw a kick. Dom started ducking and he changed the angle on it mid-throw and caught the knee on it. But yeah, if you rewatch that round, you can see Henry Cejudo figuring out in real time how to catch Dom. It's it's really impressive.
So hats off to Cejudo on a fantastic career. If this truly is the end, it'll be remain to be seen if that's true. I think he's at least gone for a year. He might as well take a vacation, right? As far as the Dominic Cruz goes, I think as far as who he should fight, maybe like a Sanhagen or Sterling, another grappler. I don't know.
Yeah.
As far as the vacant title goes, let's talk vacant title because Dominic Cruz can do what the fuck he wants to do.
No, it's out. Stop! Everybody, stop talking. I heard talks about there needs to be a tournament. Everybody shut their mouth. Everybody shut their mouth, including Chris.
Yeah.
We all know who needs to fight for the belt, and it's no one involved in this fight. There's two people.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Go ahead and say him, because we all know who it is.
I mean, if you ask me, I'd say Jan versus Moraes for the belt. If it's not them, No, listen. If it's not them, then I'd say it's either Sterling or Sanhagen.
It's Jan versus Sterling is
Sterling,
the answer.
yeah. I'd say Sterling.
Sanhagen's not there yet.
Oh, yeah, because Sanhagen, he had a good last... That's a good point.
Sanhagen's definitely a fight away from a title shot, but it's Jan and Sterling.
The only reason why I mentioned Jan and Moraes is because I thought I think maybe
Moraes what they should do if there's any kind of integrity in this fucking sport. They would do Sterling versus Jan, and they would do Sanhagen versus Moraes.
Yeah,
and both those fights are fire as fuck for so many reasons.
So, do you think Jan? A lot of people were saying like he's the future champ, and I could see that.
Can Jan fuck with Aljo's grappling? That's the question. And everything he's shows he can sub takedowns. I don't know if he can deal with some of the weird scrambles that are going to happen.
Or maybe chain wrestling, right? Has ever fought a chain wrestler?
And not even just chain wrestling, just like weird scrambles and clinch exchanges that turn weird. Like Aljo is very good at kind of turning grappling exchanges into an awkward thing that he is more familiar with than you, because he has really, really weird length and leverage because of how he's built. So yeah, I think that'll be fascinating. But yeah, no, absolutely, no one should be talking about anything other than Jan. If it shouldn't be Dom Cruz, and if Henry Cejudo isn't around, it should 100% be Jan versus Sterling, not even a question.
And Dana already said, I'll say this now, he's like, Pierre Jan is fighting for the title because his opponent will be to be determined. Yeah. That's what he said.
And Aljo, the only reason Aljo wouldn't get it is because Aljo's been off, but Aljo's been off for the most legit excuses. Like, they're not even excuses. He was off because of a wrist injury, and because his girlfriend had coronavirus, for fuck's sake. And she works in the medical industry. Like, Dana's the one saying he's not punishing people for fucking not fighting. I think it's going to be Jan versus, and I hope it's Sterling, probably July, International Fight Week. I don't know if that gives Sterling enough time. It depends really on the New York state government. So, well, it's not going to be in New York.
No. I'm saying
whether
the New York state government will determine when Aljo can start training.
Well,
that's my point.
Aljo is training. He's
able to train now?
So he was. The only reason he wasn't training is because everyone was quarantining him because his girlfriend had the Rona. Which he talked about on his podcast. So.
I remember that. Okay. See, yeah. I was under the presumption
but he's been training
that New York shut everything the fuck down.
They have, but he's been training at Al's house, from what I understand.
Okay.
There's like a small group of like him, Al, Marab, and like one or two other guys is what I understand. Which arguably not the smartest thing ever. Wait, hold on. Hold on. I have a question. Give me 1 second. Okay, wait. So that's happening in 3 days is the Sijara Eubanks fight against Sarah Moraes. Because Sijara Eubanks is the first fighter I can think of that's from New York that's fighting during this. Right? Because nobody from this last card was from New York. But Sijara is.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
So, I to be fair, I'm not sure whether she's in New York or whether she's in Jersey. Because I know she was training with Mark Henry and them for a while. So I'm not positive, but yeah, that's something to keep an eye on because I don't know if you've been listening to many podcasts with people from New York, but people from New York have a very different tone about all this stuff because a lot of them have seen people they know die, and it's kind of terrifying. So I listen to a couple podcasts with people out there, and like, yeah, man, shit's kind of different out there because of the proximity difference. Anyway, I guess not important. Lastly, Chris, we should get to the fucking greatest fight. So here's the thing. Here's my question for you. This was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a title, or well, I don't know if I even want to count this as a title fight, but in a main event
it's a title
ever.
fight. Technically, it's a title fight.
I guess I don't want to count it as that really.
It's not
but in a main event ever, though, which I would consider Justin Gaethje the contender in this situation, considering Tony technically never lost the interim belt either. Anyway, but there's a couple things about this fight that kind of blew my mind. Number one, Justin Gaethje has completely evolved his game in a way that we talked about a little bit with the interview that Trevor Whitman did with Man and the Myth. But his newfound ability to pick and choose when he's going to pressure, and his ability, once he finds his range, to throw fucking murder balls and still land so cleanly is unmatched, I would argue, in maybe not the sport, but definitely the division. Like, I've never seen people throw, since maybe Takanori Gomi, I haven't seen people throw such fucking hard, giant overhands and never miss anything other than the cleanest chin shot you've ever seen.
I was talking this with Trevor. Didn't he actually break the record for most percentage of significant strikes landed by throwing?
I would not doubt it at all. It was
because I remember Sports Center
horrifying.
posted on their Instagram on social media highlights from it, and they're just, yeah, man, like,
Dude, this fight was horrifying.
hats off to Gaethje and hats off to Tony Ferguson's chin, because a lot of those punches put the lights out in a lot of lightweights,
Dude,
including Ferguson. I thought Ferguson was going night-night. My official pick for this, and because we didn't discuss this,
Yeah,
I
we didn't
had
do it ahead of
Tony
time,
I had Tony via submission about round 3 because I really thought he was going to bring it to the ground.
See, I had Gaethje via knockout in the first. I only briefly mentioned it on Shawnee podcasts or on Sphere MMA Zoom, but like I was like, I joked that I had I can't pick Ferguson because he has Eddie Bravo in his corner, but honestly, I figured Gaethje was going to feign his way in and land bombs early like he did, but I thought Tony would go out because I didn't.
Was Tony's striking coach Rashad Holloway even in the corner, or was it just Eddie Bravo?
I don't know his striking coach well enough to know whether he was one of the dudes. I know Eddie Bravo was in the corner. There was a striking coach. I don't know what Tony's striking coach looks like.
I know his name is Rashad Holloway, but I don't know what he looks like.
I don't know what he looks like off the top of my head, so I don't know. Yeah, man. It was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen. I mean, this is exactly the Justin Gaethje that if you watch any of his run coming up, this is him. You saw moments of him just completely on fire, doing wild shit like he does. But then you also saw moments where you see him kind of... the only thing I can attribute it to is the Trevor Whitman... conversations that they had on the Man of the Myth, where Trevor Whitman specifically said, like, Justin's found a way to notice when he's redlining too often and to step back and wait for the moment to redline it again. And you saw that over and over and over again, round by round throughout this fight, and he was able to push the pace but time it better and better. And one of the most, I think, telling moments, which I heard a couple people mention actually in recap shows, which was in between rounds, I believe it was the third round, I want to say, when Tony Ferguson said to when Trevor Whitman said to Justin, like, hey, you're up 3 rounds, but remember what happened the last time you got comfortable. And Justin Gaethje goes, the last 2 times I got comfortable.
Yeah, he's like twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah, which was like the most telling, and also it really, I feel like, is a great demonstration of how fucking underrated the intelligence of both Justin Gaethje and Trevor Whitman are.
And I like the way that Gaethje fought this fight, because in the last couple of fights he's been called Homer Simpson. He's sloppy. No, he wasn't that at all. He was composed.
Not the last couple fights. I would say prior to
in his knockout losses to Alvarez and maybe Poirier.
Well, his entire career prior to that, he was.
The biggest thing that stuck out to me was his guard defense, just his striking defense, and more specifically when Ferguson throws that spinning back elbow. Dude, he blocked those. Like, every time I'm like, damn, so he's just reading the hips. He's reading, like, where Ferguson's going to be.
Yeah.
And this is, like, on, 4 weeks' notice? Or 5 weeks?
And not only blocked him, but he wasn't just, like, showing up, walking into strikes either. He did a real good job of, like, keeping the right distance to make Tony constantly miss leg kicks and constantly miss strikes, rather than the old Gaethje who would just power through and let you, who would collapse the distance and let you throw over the top of him.
I think you can make a good argument that this is one of the best performances in title fight or main event history, really, based on not just
one of the
underdog
cleanest.
Is because I don't know, like, was Ferguson Habib supposed to happen at this point? Probably not, given all the factors and things that are going on. Maybe
you
Gaethje.
mean how the world doesn't want it to happen?
Yeah. Maybe Gaethje Habib's supposed to be a thing. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe is Gaethje destined to be him? We'll fucking find out. And if he does, then guess what? Hats off to him, right? You know?
I've always said that fight's real interesting, man.
I will always say this. It's going to come down to Gaethje's wrestling and his grappling against Habib, and we still haven't seen it. Maybe that's why that's the outlier. Like, that's when is that when you finally see it? There's no other way.
It's real good, man, and his
ability
to put damage out.
Unless he just knocks out Habib in like the first or second round.
I think that's not unlikely. Have you seen Gaethje rips uppercuts in a way that, like,
I don't know. Habib is so fast though too.
No, absolutely.
So I don't know. Either way, I'm hyped on that fight. Yes, I biased. I really wanted to see Tony versus Habib. I kept saying that's the most important fight in MMA right now. But you know what? I'm hyped on Gaethje Habib, and I think that fight happens in July.
I hope it does. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
International Fight Week. I think what they do is they do that, and I think they do Conor versus, I guess, Nate 3. I don't give a fuck about that fight.
I don't care.
I do not care about that fight. Some people are mentioning Conor versus Tony. That's interesting, honestly. I'd see that. But I don't know.
Tony and Nate, I think, is more interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I think I'd take Tony in that.
I think I would too, but I think it'd be a lot of fun.
It'd be fun, though.
Because you would get in some weird grappling exchanges in that fight.
As far as summertime stuff, I really want to see someone like Masvidal versus Conor. Not that we need that, because I want to see how Conor reacts to someone that puts pressure on him in the striking. But I don't know. There's a lot of good fights you can make. I still think, as far as the other weight class go, you still need to do Masvidal Usman, even though I think it becomes very one-sided at some point. I don't know, man. There's some fights to make. I guess you could do Usman Covington. I don't want to even see that. I don't care about that.
No, there needs to be other fights before that happens.
Yeah, so
Leon Edwards needs to fight before that.
I feel like they're just going to end up doing Edwards Usman too at this point, and then because apparently Woodley's supposed to fight Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, man, I don't. Yeah, who knows what the fuck is going on with that shit? I would love to see that fight, but also it's a really weird fight. Well, I guess, actually, speaking of weird fights, I guess that's a good segue. But first off, just overall, big congrats to Justin Gaethje on that win. It was one of the most impressive, dominant performances we've ever seen in a main event.
Congrats to Cejudo. He was sharper than I thought he looked.
Dude,
I expected him to win.
He looked really good in that fight, yeah.
I'm still convinced Cruz was going to come back a little bit. I'm a little bit of a biased fan, but he was looking good. I don't think Dominic Cruz is done. I really want to see him fight again. I think he does at this point.
Yeah,
especially now that Cejudo's out. He's probably like, well, I just got my ass kicked by Cejudo. Maybe I could still win this belt. Yeah. I don't know.
One question I had: how'd you feel about the stoppage in the fifth?
Oh, for Gaethje Ferguson,
Yep.
I thought it was good.
Should it have come sooner? Because towards the end of the fourth round, I was wondering if the corner should have stopped it.
That fourth round.
It was. I mean, it wasn't. It got worse towards the fifth, but man, at a certain point in the fourth round, I started feeling uneasy.
No, you say that they could have called in the fourth round. Yeah,
I feel like if Trevor Whitman was in the corner, we might have seen that.
Yeah, Eddie Bravo, he's being criticized a little. That's a good point. In hindsight, it was like the middle of the fifth. Yeah, it probably. I don't know.
Well, and I get it too. Like Tony always has especially with
he's gonna
how
go out on his
wily that
shield.
dude is.
Yeah,
like I get it.
He's gonna go on the shield.
Yeah, but also I don't know. I started feeling uncomfortable part of the way through that fifth round with how much damage
it just
he
looked
was
like
taking.
just a fucking beatdown out of a goddamn Rocky movie at this point. You're like, dude, what the fuck is going on? It's just dude just getting killed.
Yeah, at a certain point you ask yo, how much time are we taking off this dude's career / life by letting this continue? Because at a certain point, I get it, but man, it started to get hard to watch there towards the end. And you see Tony of all people turn away and shake his head. You're like, oh, that's an ungodly amount.
He gave Gaethje a hug shortly after. He shoved him and then he kind of regretted that.
No,
he hugged him.
I more meant when he took that last shot and then he seemed to turn away and shake his head, trying to clear his head. It was hard to see. So curious to see how that goes.
I'm looking at a picture right now. Ferguson was in the hospital. He was celebrating his wife, saying Happy Mother's Day. Damn, his face looks bad.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
You know what, though? Tony Ferguson's still a top 3 lightweight, in my opinion. That dude probably beats just about everyone. I mean, can he beat Gaethje in a rematch? Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. But even then, we know that this new look Justin Gaethje, though. Goddamn,
dude, for real.
This is a different Justin Gaethje. He didn't look like that Homer Simpson, just kind of because he wasn't even. I didn't really see him do this once.
He didn't show up that much. No,
he didn't even show up. He was literally just like this.
He did a lot better job of keeping distance and letting Tony miss and countering off.
Dude, this is. I like this new look Gaethje because I remember even in an interview I think about 2 years ago, in 2018. They asked Khabib, it was that interview. They said, "Give us your opinion on these lightweight fighters," and they asked him about Justin Gaethje, and he's like. Great fighter, but needs to change his style if he wants to survive or something, or if he wants to continue to be the best. I think that's what he said. And if Gaethje's truly changing his style, he just beat Tony fucking Ferguson. So that's a good fucking start, right?
Man. Well, Chris, even crazier than the quick advancement of Justin Gaethje's game planning is this upcoming UFC Fight Night card in Jacksonville, Florida on Wednesday. Smith versus Teixeira. You remember this is happening, right? Oh, you forgot this was happening. I knew this was the case.
I mean, I saw it, as some people
Don't worry,
would say.
We're not going to preview it because I don't feel comfortable giving any kind of pre-show press to any of these cards at all, which is why we're recapping them so we can say what things went wrong and we're not previewing them ahead of time, talking in anticipation about it, because that makes me feel gross. However, I will say, have you looked at the matchups on this at all?
Not at all, dude. I haven't even acknowledged the. I guess I
want to pull it up real quick because it's kind of interesting, and we'll put 2 minutes into it. There are some fights on here that I'm curious to see. I would also, I feel like one of the new things to do while looking at these cards is think, how many different places in the world are these fighters coming from? Which is concerning. For example, we got Sijara Eubanks from New York.
We got a fighter from Italy. That's not concerning.
Well, to be fair, he's training in L.A. at the time being.
Okay.
But
good for him.
He also has family in Italy.
We got someone from New York.
We got Hunter Azure from San Diego. He's the dude on a Contender Series with the red hair. Spike. No, wait. Is Hunter Azure? I think it's Spike Carlson. I'm thinking of Spike Carlson.
Yeah, he's the Ginger Warrior, whatever you call him.
Who's Hunter Azure from? Oh, he's from the MMA Lab. That's right. He got the win over Bracketona. That's right. I'm mixing up those two.
Oh, that's right. Oven St. Preux's moving up to heavyweight. That's interesting.
Yeah. Gabriel Benitez is fighting on this card. Sijara Eubanks versus Sarah Moraes. Michael Johnson versus Thiago Moises. Andre Arlovski versus some random Brazilian dude who I've seen fight before. Who did Felipe Lins fight last? Oh, right, Josh Copeland in PFL. Oh, God. Oh, right, PFL. Remember when they used to be a thing?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Carl Roberson, Marvin Vittori. Ray Borg versus Ricky Simone is the dopest fight in this card. Second dopest fight in this card. Drew Dober versus Alex Hernandez is pretty tight.
I'd say that's a good one.
Roberson Vittori is actually pretty fun, too, since Carl Roberson, former kickboxer, going up against Marvin Vittori, former opponent of Israel Adesanya. Yeah. This should be a pretty fun card.
If it happens.
That's right, and hopefully no one has been in contact with Jacare Souza recently, but who knows? I know. It's not like the media there is going to tell us any actual fucking facts about what's going on. So, on that note.
Hey, what'd you think of your fucking intermission message from President Trump?
Oh, for fuck's sake. What are we doing?
That was so weird, dude. That was so awkward.
You know what it is?
Basically, Dana White, you gave me money for publicity.
Oh,
and
100%.
no, I'm not asking my phone Siri. What? How does Siri sound like Dana White? Shut the fuck up, phone. It's basically
Dana
like
White, you put on a fantastic sporting event.
Tremendous.
It's tremendous. You're very talented and you're very white, and we appreciate you.
Once I'm truly bald, even though I want to look as bald and redheaded as you are.
One day I hope
Red-faced,
to
whatever.
take advantage of as many poor workers as you do on the regular. I keep getting sued for it, but somehow you don't.
We're going to drain the swamp of real, actual MMA journalists that have actual, real integrity.
That's right. The fake MMA journalism, a.k.a. everyone from Real Brian hates.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so
Dana's
deep
embracing
in
fake news.
Yeah.
Way to go, Dan.
Oh, dude, he's been embracing it. I don't know if you noticed. He literally just repeats whatever Trump says at every single opportunity. It's great. Also, I like how at this point in the episode, everybody who would be real mad about this has already given up so long ago because of me talking about safety issues.
Well, I think that's going to do it for me. That was an absolutely fantastic pay-per-view.
It was dude, it was arguably, that's one of the most fucked up parts about this, is that was one of the best cards I've ever seen.
I don't know. It's pure irony.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances.
The ironing is noticeable, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, on that note, I guess we'll wrap this here. But as always, you guys can find us on Twitter, TSOVPod. Hit us up. Let us know what podcast we're sleeping on, because we're always sleeping on something. There's so many goddamn shows, especially now that during the pandemic, everybody bought a goddamn microphone. And, hey, I would like to see some new journalists in the field. I'd like to see some more Michael Fidels. I fucked up his name. No, it is Fidel, right?
I think it's Fidel, but...
Is it? See, now I have a panic. See, here's what happens when I hear people's names.
Or it's Fidel.
See,
it's either Fidel or Fidel.
That's the problem I have. Is when I hear someone's name is corrected, I remember that it gets corrected, but I don't remember which one's the right one and the wrong one. I'm going to go do some research, and I'll be back to you next week with the right way to pronounce Michael's last name. But, yeah, man. It is a sad week for MMA journalism. So, hey, anybody out there doing actual journalism, covering the sport correctly, I love you, and we need more of you. So, cheers to you guys, and Chris, anything else before we get out of here?
No, that's going to do it.
All right, well, until next time, everybody, go do something decadent. Oh, also, enjoy our commentary of... No Rules, which we put out. I believe it. Actually, I think I posted that today because I realized I didn't post it earlier in the week because the editing got rough and my birthday drinking got heavy. So, yeah, enjoy that No Rules commentary because it's fucking stupid, but a lot of fun. Chris, any last minute comments about the movie No Rules?
I hear your sister's going out with Squeak.
Oh, who did that to you? He's a dead man.
Oh, yeah. God damn it.
It's so fucking good. I just edited that intro.
Or how's the movie end? Lights out, motherfucker. Like, what? Oh, that's so upsetting.
It's really, 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 really bad. So if you guys want something bad,
And Randy Couture's a
movie
vampire.
content- Oh, I forgot about... Dude, oh my god, that movie has so much going on. Yeah, that's right. Shouts to Noah Rolls. Still got the DVD. Still repping it. Yeah, one of these days we'll bring you the Hector Echevarria movie with fucking Flavor Flav in it.
Please no.
Yeah, very excited about it. So, on that note, we are out of here. But yeah, if you guys are looking for any of the shows we're referenced in the show, you can always check out the notes on our website, thesoundofviolence.com. We have a list of every single show we talk about, as long as I don't forget any of them while I'm posting it. So, on that note, Chris, you got anything else to tag before we get out of here?
That'll do it.
All right. Till next time, everybody, go support your local brewery. Hey, find some Pliny the Elder if it's around you. It's really good. And until next time, go do something decadent. We out. Late.
Liked by the sound of violence.